X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who spit facts online all the time.
Can you see it? All the ones who drag my name every single day. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? They keep saying you don't have what it takes to carve out your own name underneath the shadows of gods. And I keep waiting for the day disbelievers say I flew way too close to the sun. I wait, but it never really comes. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who speak facts online all the time. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A voice that compels all to rebel from all right shackled minds. Why do they just stand there against when they fall from the battles I have overcome? You feel it, feel the cope and the seething torment they make while I stand up, man among gods. And I keep vaping with my mills, shooting ropes in my cold that faces towards the sun. They hate, but I'm sitting comfy with their mom. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who speak facts online all the time. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A voice that compels all to rebel from all that shackled mind. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who speak facts online all the time. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A voice that compels all to rebel from all right shackled minds. It's you and me, your mom, it's me. I'll take another hit from my name. You'll see now, watch me not now, punch your face now. Let me show you how.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. It is so good to see all of you. Hello. Hi. What's going on? Hey, Pillow. Hey, Aska. Hey, Morgan Grail. Water, Gumdrop Cat, Cleaver 120, and Celadus. Dan Share, Cryptid T, Heavy Gretel, good to see you. Nasty Redacted, what's up? Wingo, always love seeing you in chat. Guys, I feel good today. I don't feel eepy at all. Do you want to know why? Because for some reason, I thought it would be a good idea to just quit caffeine cold turkey. Like, just, going from drinking like a Monster Plus a day to just casually quitting cold turkey. And I didn't really make the connection that the reason I might have just been tired all the time for the last week and a half or 2 weeks is because I was actively going through caffeine withdrawal. But the reason I did that was because Monster's really bad for you. Pretty much all energy drinks are really bad for you compared to coffee, as, any other way of getting your caffeine. So I decided I'm going back to being a coffee guy. So I got my cup of coffee here. It's actually quite a bit of coffee. And I feel very awake right now because I actually have caffeine in my system. But I'm drinking a form of caffeine that's far less bad for me than Monster. And I feel very awake. I was gonna say cocaine. Yeah, So guys, I was really having a hard time with those caffeine withdrawals, but then I started snorting coke, and I felt great ever since. That'd go hard. Me AF. No. I did try coke at a party once, and it was not all it was talked up to be, if I'm being honest with you guys. For the likelihood of how, like, the chances of getting addicted to it and your life just getting wrecked by it, it's really not worth the experience that you get from trying it. Granted, I didn't, like, snort a line or anything like that. It was just 2 key bumps, but it was just... It just makes you hyper. You know? Like, it just makes you hyper and on edge and crave nicotine like crazy. And not hungry. It definitely makes you not hungry. That was a big part of it. I didn't eat for like a day and a half after I tried coke the first time. And the only time. I don't know why I said the first time, as if like there's gonna be a second time. There's not gonna be a second time. I advise most of you guys don't even have a first time. That's also probably because you have ADHD. Yeah, that's probably true. I don't know. Freudian slip? You guys got me. No, but in all seriousness, I genuinely did not find it to be as exciting as I was expecting. Like, I'd seen so many movies, you know? You watch, like, any movie, and someone snorts coke, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go! And it's like, no. No, it's not that cool. It'll just ruin your life, and you'll feel like you drank 2 monsters back to back. So don't do it. It's for dancing. It's for ruining your life. Don't do coke. Listen, chat. You guys can trust me. As a based stoner, I am not on some, like, dare propaganda bullshit here, okay? I'm just telling you right now. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. If someone offers you cocaine or crack or anything of that sort, meth, it's not worth it. Drugs are bad, okay? Not all drugs are bad, but some drugs are bad, okay? Like, unironically say no. Coke is for spending too much money to turn into a golem. I can imagine going golem mode from that. Also, these Fat Panda vapes are insane. I don't know why I ever stopped buying these, because they are the strongest there is. Some drugs are just chaotic evil, and that, yeah, meth and cocaine are chaotic evil drugs, along with heroin. And ketamine. Like I would put meth, heroin, ketamine, what else? Opium, morphine, OxyContin, all of those are chaotic evil, okay? Ketamine. Listen, ketamine is a problem, okay? The cops are, like, memeing about it pretty much, but, like, opiates being cut with ketamine is actually kind of a fucking problem. Sponge boy me Bob. My school had a meth problem. It was wild. Oh yeah, dude. I grew up in Florida. My best friend's neighbor's house. My best friend, who, like, on the bus ride home from school, we would stop at, like, the block right by his house. So I would see his house. His neighbor. His next-door neighbor, their house caught fire and, like, had a small combustion, an explosion of sorts inside. Later came out it was because it was a meth lab in there. And it's like, fuck. Florida be Floridan. Ketamine can help people with PTSD, though. I don't do the treatment because of my addictive tendencies. What am I mixing? Am I mixing it up with something? Fentanyl. I always mix up ketamine and fentanyl. My bad. Yeah, sorry. Very, very stupid to mix those up, by the way. You don't want to mix those two things up. But I always mix them up because they have very silly names. They have silly names. It's fentanyl that has the big issue of being mixed into opiates. Chad, I ordered Blowhigh. Oh yeah, excuse my messy-ass bed. I'm currently running my comforter through the wash right now. You should do that like once a week to keep your disgusting man crust from getting you even disgustinger and more crusty. So yeah, my bed's all messy right now because it's going through the wash. My pillowcases, all that stuff. I'm doing laundry too. Hell yeah. Laundry is fun when you live alone. I always hated laundry when I was like being told to do it by my parent, but like pretty much every chore across the board, I find myself actually enjoying now that I just kind of, even when I was living with my girlfriend, my ex, I didn't enjoy doing housework or chores because I was cleaning up after another person a lot. Now though, living alone, I just clean up after myself and there's no one else around to make a mess. And so I like go to bed and the house is as clean as I left it. It's so nice. Xanderhal sounds like a drug name, though. True. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your time here so far. Consider dropping a like on the stream. It actually goes a real long way. True, my ex used to get mad at me for not doing her dishes. Oh, that sucks. That fucking sucks. I mean, yeah, that's why the Discord is the Xanderholics. True, yeah, because I am a drug that you guys are addicted to. You guys can't stop watching my content. Smoking some strong Xanderhal right now. Dude, I cannot believe Elon Musk... Okay, Elon Musk's new X logo for Twitter looks so fucking terrible. It's the most basic bitch X logo ever. I don't know if you guys know this, but so when I got my branding made, I went on Fiverr and I paid like $150 for like my branding and logo to be made by a graphic artist. And I basically gave the prompt of my new username is going to be Xanderhal because it's the end of my first name and the beginning of my last name smushed together. Alexander Haley. So those of you guys who don't know, Xanderhal, it's stolen. That's funny as fuck. So I go to this Fiverr artist and I ask them, my username's going to be Xanderhal, and I want my logo to be an X. Like, I want my logo to be an X. But X logos can be really, really derivative. It's really hard to make a creative-looking, unique X logo, and I want mine to look unique. And so I encourage, like, really make it, like it needs to be an X, but it needs to not be like a ripoff of the X-Men logo or something like that, right? That was specifically what I said. And the person ended up making it into like a ninja star or a fan. You know, it could be seen as like a windmill fan or a ninja star. I gave the prompt of like modern kind of industrial aesthetic is the prompt that I gave for the Fiverr artist. And I think it was probably intended to be more like a wind fan, like a wind turbine fan X, but it also looks like a ninja star, so it's hard to say which it's supposed to be. You guys can leave that up to your own, your own artistic interpretation. Not gonna lie, I thought about printing, 3D printing, a fan blade that looks like the Xan logo. That would be cool. Ye old Xanderhal name lore? What is this? Oh, yeah! Wait, you knew about this, huh? Yeah, so for those of you guys that don't know, technically... God, this is from so long... This was uploaded a year ago, but this was from back in, like, 2019. Me, Vosh, White Nervosa, Vermin, and Conyer, and Doe did a D&D campaign that was streamed. It fell through, mostly because we just were all fucking busy. Being content creators is busy fucking work, and D&D streams didn't pull as many viewers as, like, normal streams do, to be honest. They would probably do a lot better now, but remember, like, I think at the time Vosh maybe had 60,000 subs. So like he was big on YouTube, but he was smaller than I am now, you know? So like a D&D stream wasn't going to, you know, it was a lot of work to put into something that was going to take up a lot of time, right? But this is the origin of the Xanderhal name.
Wow.
Oh my god, look at my old camera. No. Dog, my old camera. Holy shit. It's like there's a film of, like, gunk. There's a gunk film over my camera. Why was it doing that? Oh, that old Logitech piece of shit. Now I've got what is nicknamed the Cam Girl webcam. The Cam Girl Logitech webcam. It's the highest quality webcam that's not like a real camera that exists. This is the one all the cam girls use, so you know it's the good shit. Xana's our favorite cam girl. The Brio. Yeah, I like how Apillo knew right away. Right away, Apillo knew what camera I was talking about. Interesting that you knew that, Apillo. Xanderhal. Hey, I stream. Listen, our society, there's two tiers of our society relevant to this discussion. And I want you all to know, lefty streamers are down here, and cam girls are all the way up here insofar as what we offer to society. Like the actual good that we contribute. The amount of happiness we add to this world. We are well below cam girls, okay? On the societal totem pole. Unironically. I'm not even memeing. Okay. True. Alright, everybody. What are we doing? What are we doing right now? Are we gonna do a little bit of a pre-segment topic meme segment, like a let's fuck around and just hang out for a minute segment, or are we gonna do just jumping right into the segments? I have a topic I want us to learn about. I have a topic I want us to learn and react to and discuss together. Okay? It is in the vein of indigenous rights. I know you guys are probably not, like, that's not the most, like, spicy, exciting topic of all time, but I feel like a lot of you guys will be interested. This one, I just remembered this, and I've never talked about this on stream before, and it's actually a fairly common topic of discussion online, but I feel like most people talking about it are, like, shitty, middle-aged, white podcast bros. I want to talk about North Sentinel Island. Was that? Oh, some of you guys don't even know. Shit. All right. Carl Markey Marks, thank you for the $10 donation. I really appreciate that. Let me open up my calendar, my calculator. Said, maybe you should bring this Jonah guy on to chat before he blows up and Cornbread Tube finds him. His content is pretty good and he seems pretty chill. Yeah, I am pretty concerned about the possibility of Cornbread Tube trying to, like, I don't know, like, appropriate new up-and-coming left tubers into hating debate bros before they've really gotten, like, introduced to the space. Trump's brain severely malfunctions after asked about his faith. 2 hours ago. Let's see this.
Christian faith, and now he has grown since how his faith has grown since he ran for president or decided to run for president in 2015, and he goes on the most insane, incoherent, just completely off the rails rant I might have ever heard.
Dude, I don't know why, but this person's streaming setup is making me nostalgic as fuck right now for when I first started streaming politics. I started streaming politics when I was living with my uncle. And I was in this room, because it was in my grandma's old house, and it didn't have any central AC, so I had this, like, window shaker wall unit, just like they do. And I didn't have, like, a proper doorknob. Like, I had to, like, mount a door to the thing, because, like, that room was... Like, that house was so old, like, it was not in the best of shape. So me and my uncle were actively still, like, repairing it and, like, remodeling it. And so I had the most, like, scuffed solution to holding my door shut because it didn't have a knob in it. I, like, moved my dresser in front of the door, and it had a microwave on top of it, too, because I would microwave meals in there. I had a little fridge in there, too. Who is OG enough besides Cryptid T to remember the streams where I had the microwave behind me? That is what I'm talking about. That was when I was living with my uncle, and I first started doing politics streams. I don't know why, but this background makes me nostalgic as hell for that. Yeah, I'm going to subscribe and keep an eye on this channel. Seems like they make good content. Thank you for the $10, by the way. I really appreciate it. Carl Marky Marks. And then, of course, Slashy, thank you for the $3 donation. Very kind of you. It really helps out a lot. It really does go a long way. Says, is there anything that Elon Musk might do that would greatly displease his super loyal followers? Yeah, I think he's losing more followers every day. Like, I think more and more of the people that follow him that are not bot accounts run by Twitter are becoming disillusioned by him every single day. I genuinely believe that. I think that Elon Musk is just day by day ruining his reputation further and further. How long have I been streaming? 23 minutes. Dude, it's so weird. When I press the go live button, so for those that don't know, I always go live on the hour. Sometimes, on weird days, I'll go live on the 30-minute mark, but it's always on the dot. Like, that is, on the hour is when the stream actually starts. But my stream actually goes live, technically, 5 minutes before that time. So that there's time for, like, the stream to be live and for YouTube to send out the notifications and people to get in the chat and start talking and for things to warm up, so to say. And I also run my intro. And I time it, because my intro is about 3 minutes long. I time it so at exactly 57 of whatever hour, so an hour 57, I press play, and then the theme song finishes on exactly the dot of the next hour. And that is when I switch over to my full camera, and the stream truly starts. But there'll always be people in YouTube chat at, like, hour 55 when I press the live button, and I'm playing the theme song, spamming, Zan's late, Zan's late, Zan's late, and it's like, do you not have... Are you... Like, I don't understand. Are you trolling? Because you don't seem like you're trolling at all. Like, you seem like you actually think I'm late. Do you think I go live 3 minutes from the hour? Does that actually seem like it makes any sense? It blows me away every time. I don't know how to react to it. I always check my water to make sure a spider didn't fall in, because there's been spiders in my apartment, and I like them, and I don't kill them. Because I want them to eat, like, any other bugs that could come in here. But sometimes they fall off the ceiling, like, onto my desk, and I worry that one will fall into my water and I'll drink one. Free protein? Not if you drink it whole. What if it bites, like, the side of my stomach? You know? Like, that's not a good thing. You don't want that. Ah, you're secretly in Australia, aren't you? No, it's just summertime. It's bug season in Seattle. Washington State gets like this during summer. Usually it's ants for a lot of people, but I haven't seen any ants. I just get spiders. Which I guess is because I keep the place really, really clean. There's no there's no whatchamacallit, food or anything like sugary or just anything sitting around in my house that would attract ants. So I only have spiders. Ron's KFC, thank you for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate that. Says, do you miss the iguanas? I mean, I do, but they weren't an everyday thing for me by any means. I saw more alligators than iguanas, to be honest. Iguanas were more of a Miami area thing. That's where, like, the basilisk lizards and the chameleons and the iguanas and, like, all the more large, like, lizards you would see kept as people's pets are living, like, out in the wild. What we really had in regards to reptiles where I was were a lot of alligators and some crocodiles, like some American crocodiles, and a lot of brown anoles and green anoles. Anyway, how's your sex life, Xanderhal? Healthy. Thank you for the question. I'm glad you're concerned. There was once an iguana that was loose in my neighborhood. If you lived in Miami, there would just be hundreds of iguanas loose in your neighborhood, and that would be your life. All right. Are you guys ready for this? You all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1... action. Okay, guys. This is an interesting as hell topic. I hear this talked about in a lot of, like, middle-aged white bro podcasts, and you usually don't hear the best of takes from those podcasts, especially on this topic in particular, but this is sort of a viral topic online. Some of you won't even know what this is, but those of you that don't, those of you who are going into this blind and have no idea what North Sentinel Island is, you are definitely in for a very interesting discovery about the world you're about to learn. And for those of you guys that do know, I feel like you'll have some pretty interesting takes and opinions on this situation. And I'm really curious to hear what you guys think, because there is some debate around this topic. So, hypers in chat if you don't know what North Sentinel Island is. Okay, there's a fair amount of people here who don't know what North Sentinel Island is. That's actually pretty surprising. That is really surprising. I guess it was a more viral topic of discussion back in like 2015, 2016. I guess enough years have passed at this point, and the internet has such a short memory that a lot of people just never caught that trend of viral videos. Anyway, I've got a documentary by a YouTuber named Gino Samuel here about North Sentinel Island. And this is apparently one of the most comprehensive breakdowns of North Sentinel Island that there is. And I'm really, really curious to, well, I mean, I know a lot about this already, but I'm really excited to have a conversation about it on stream, mostly because, like, I've never talked about it on stream, so I think it'd be cool. Anyway, here's the documentary. The Chris Chan guy? Yeah, this guy mostly makes Chris Chan documentaries, but then also made a documentary on North Sentinel Island. Is it a creepypasta? No, it's 100% real. All right. Are you guys ready for this? 3, 2, 1. Go, 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 go. Okay, this intro is interesting. We're taking the plunge. One could consider this knowledge a cognito hazard.
North Sentinel Island has garnered an infamy worldwide for being home to one of the last uncontacted tribes in the world. A people who violently reject any outsiders, attacking or killing anyone who would come near their island. There were once efforts from the outside world to achieve peaceful relations, but these have since been ceased by the Indian government, the administrators of the island, for good reasons. The inhabitants of the island, the Sentinelese, remain almost as elusive and mysterious as when they were first discovered around 300 years ago. Virtually.
So, Basically, there's a population of at least 250 people living on an island in the Indian Ocean. They have been uncontacted for 10,000 years, I believe it's been. There are some similarities in their language to some local contacted tribes on other islands. And it seems likely, but there's a lot of diversions as well, and it's theorized it's been like 10,000 years roughly since there's been any contact between even other island tribes and this one in particular. There have been very, very few interactions between like the outside world and them. And there has been a debate about whether or not they should be left alone or essentially forced unwillingly into joining the modern world. I think they should probably be left alone, considering that's what they want, and every attempt to try to contact them either leads to one of the people trying to contact them getting hurt, or, for example, what ended up happening when they tried to, they kidnapped a couple people from North Sentinel Island and brought them back to the mainland in India. They very quickly succumbed to sickness. They have literally lived for thousands of years separate from the rest of the world, bringing diseases from the rest of the world to this island could literally cause a pandemic that could kill them all. There's literally only a few hundred people living on this island. So there are a lot of reasons why they should probably be left alone. Especially when it's like, are we sure we want to just like not like why, like there should be allowed to be people out there in the world who get to live completely uncontacted from the rest of the world, you know? We shouldn't like just roll on in the 21st century when we've pretty much figured out that doing that kind of shit is wrong and then continue to do that shit, you know? I'm very glad the Indian government is very on top of protecting the airspace and protecting the water around it. They do have Indian Coast Guard ships like miles around scanning and surveying for people trying to approach or accidentally drifting in. And of course, like you've got air patrols as well, making sure that like nobody's coming in as well, because they like the Indian government is maintaining the uncontacted nature of the island, which I think is very commendable. I feel like that's not something the U.S. government would ever do. Like, I don't feel like the U.S. government would ever actually put effort or anything into helping to protect an uncontacted tribe of indigenous people on an island off the coast. Like, not in a million years would the U.S. put, like, any level of effort or funding into that. And so, kudos to the Indian government. It'd be a military base if it was in the U.S. To be fair, North Sentinel Island would have been a Japanese military base if Japan found it during World War II. North Sentinel Island came real close to becoming a Japanese, air base, if it had been found and like discovered. So yeah, if either America or Japan found it, they would have been fucked.
Uncorrupted by outsider influence, they remain one of the last remnants of a past humankind, and along with their near.
I like the censored ass there. So like. One of the interesting thing as well are cargo cults. Yeah, Carl Marky Marks just brought that up. Cargo cults are really interesting. Back in World War II, you would have militaries from either Japan or the Air Force from Japan or the Air Force from the US would come down to an island and establish a temporary runway, and they would even make air traffic control towers, and they would have an air base there. And there would be indigenous tribes living on those islands. We're talking about the Pacific Ocean here. They're just tribes who have lived there for thousands of years uncontacted that just suddenly see planes land and start building up a goddamn Air Force base. And they're just like, what is happening over there? And then God? Yeah, is it God? Is that you? And then, they eventually the military would leave because the war ended, and they end up deciding, okay, God visited us, and they start constructing recreations out of bamboo and shit. There are literal photos from the 1960s and 1950s, from decades after World War II, where there are photos of these like Pacific Island tribes who have built bamboo air traffic control towers and bamboo planes to mimic what they saw when the military came and built like those bases on their islands and then just abandoned them. Especially because a lot of the cargo, like a lot of food and stuff and tools were left behind. And so that is a big part of why these tribes saw them as being like gods, because they had like boxes of extremely good food and boxes of metal tools and guns and shit. So it was like, holy shit, we want them to come back. If we build this shit out of sticks and bamboo, maybe they'll return and bring more of their shit with them. I guess that was probably the mindset.
By neighbors exemplify how damaging the modern way of life can be.
Yeah, and they flew. There's very little footage of them.
The small North Sentinel Island, only 4.5 miles across, is one of nearly 600 islands that comprise the Andaman and Nicobar Islands Union Territory of India. It lies only 22 miles away from the nearest town on South Andaman Island and 31 miles.
Wait until you find out the story behind the tribes on the North Sentinel Islands discovering metal tools. Don't spoil it in chat if you know, because there's a lot of people who don't know. If you don't know, wait until you find out how they got metal tools. It's not how you'd expect.
It's from the territory's capital and largest city, Port Blair. The people who live here, dubbed the Sentinelese, are part of the Andamanese collective of native tribes who inhabit the Andaman Islands. While
It's legit some Stranded Deep shit.
other tribes now come into regular contact with their invaders and are exposed to some aspects of modern civilization, the Sentinelese have almost always violently refused entry from outsiders, some positing that the island people have been living in seclusion for upwards of 60,000 years.
Like, by uncontacted and no one else is allowed, that means the other local tribes. Like, there are like local islands nearby that 10,000 years ago, 60,000 years, sorry, that they would have been in contact with. They even have small similarities in their language, but they've been for so long uncontacted and unconnected that they would shoot at anybody who showed up. It makes you wonder, are the estimations about how many of them wrong? There are wrong? Because, like, let's be real. It's not that hard to hear a helicopter or a drone coming and hide in a bush or under a tree. That's what I would do if I were them. If I heard a helicopter or a drone, I would hide. So it's very likely that the 250 estimate is a very low underestimate because, for one, how do you keep up a genetically diverse population for tens of thousands of years with that few people? 2, the island's fucking huge. And 3, they seem to always know when someone shows up. There's got to be a lot of fucking people, like, in that tree line looking for things to show up. Because I'm not going to spoil much more, but people have showed up, and it didn't go well. So they are very much hostile to any outsiders trying to show up.
The earliest references to the Andaman Islands date back
Pretty
to
sure
around
they used
the
thermal
9th century
cameras?
ACE, and their inhabitants were said to have been a people to be feared.
To be fair, though, they could have seen Predator. And what I mean by that is, they literally could have pulled a Predator.
Pirates from Malaysia, Burma, and China are thought to have traveled to this region and may have even abducted Andamanese people to be used as slaves. Shipwrecks were not uncommon, as many Andamanese tribes, including the Sentinelese, learned to utilize iron salvaged from ships in their construction of spears and arrows.
The Sentinelese have metal tools that they've salvaged from shipwrecks. Like it's Stranded Deep. They cold forge the metal that they rip off of shipwrecks that either crash onto or wash up on the island. They cold forge it, and that's how they've made their modern day metal tools. They've upped on the skill tree.
In 1771, John Ritchie, a British surveyor working for the East India Company, was the first person to concretely detail the island, passing.
Okay. How fucking dope would it be if we leave them alone forever? and we just let them develop technology at their own pace and join the rest of the world when they're ready, you know? Like when they're just like, you know what? We've developed engines, and we've developed diesel fuel from fermenting the methane from fermenting coconuts or something. And we can compress it down into a liquid fuel we can use to power engines for our boats. We are ready to conquer the world. And it's like some Attack on Titan shit. They head out and they find out, oh, the world is already quite conquered.
By North Sentinel at night. From his ship, he witnessed a multitude of lights on the shore.
That's the big worry, though. Climate change really does risk wiping the island off the map. There have been hurricanes that have nearly destroyed the island and were thought to have killed everybody before, but they survived against all odds. They've been there for tens of thousands of years, but there's not much you can do if the island just submerges. That would be a really bad case scenario, and at that point, I feel like the best thing that we could possibly do would be to try to... Like, oh my god, he spoiled the ending for me. Oh my fucking god. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, so basically, what we could do is, like, dredge up a reef, just off the coast, too far away for them to, like, do anything, or to see it as a threat or destroy their their area, like the environment that they're in. Like, say half a mile off the coast, dredge up some sand and help build a shoal to keep storm waves from destroying the island. It's a temporary band-aid solution, but it'd be something that would stop a freak hurricane from literally leveling the island.
And assumed that the island was well settled. Nothing more was recorded about the island for nearly 100 years, until 1867, when an Indian merchant ship, the Nineveh, was wrecked by a monsoon on the island's reef. All of the 106 passengers and...
You cannot take them to the mainland reasonably. They literally cannot be inoculated against the diseases of our world. They just can't be. And it's actually a really good, like, display of how correct the War of the Worlds hypothesis of, like, what would happen if aliens invaded is. Because, like, if humans that have lived on an island separated from us for tens of thousands of years literally die within weeks of coming into contact with us, what would happen if people from another planet, or vice versa, came to us? We would either get super sick, or they would get super sick. They'd bring something to us, or we'd bring something to them. Bro, it's more evidence to smallpox blankets. Yeah, the smallpox blankets thing was like a more of a thing known for, like, the Americas, but, like, what happened here was just contact. Like, we are riddled with parasites and diseases that over the course of tens of thousands of years, our immune systems have adapted and evolved to specifically fight off that shit. Like, there are hundreds of parasites that your body gets infested with, and you just slough off without even realizing it because your immune system's made for it. That's just how it works. The Sentinelese have not developed that ability. It'll just give them insane diarrhea and they'll die of dehydration. Like, they just don't have the immune system development over the course of 10,000 years that we do to deal with, like, new world diseases or old world diseases. Like, I'm pretty sure Black Plague would be a problem for them. Well, obviously it'd be a problem for them, but, like even, like, more European and like Asian and African, like, that old world viruses would be a problem for them because they've been completely disconnected. Yeah, like, you couldn't keep them in, like, hazmat suits. Like, yeah, we have to protect the island. We have to protect the island. That's the only place where they're safe.
The crew managed to reach the beach safely and survived without incident for 2 days.
It's just a very unique situation.
On the morning of the third day, the Sentinelese all of a sudden came out of the dense forest and attacked them. The captain of the ship later reported. The savages were perfectly naked, with short hair and red painted noses. Their arrows appeared to be tipped with iron.
This is a couple hundred years ago.
The passengers
Pretty
and crew
unwoke.
returned to their wrecked ship without harm, where they fended off the Sentinelese with sticks and stones. A British Royal Navy steamship soon arrived to rescue the castaways without further incident. By this time, the Andaman and
By the way, in most encounters, typically the Sentinelese are pretty, like, they'll kill your ass, but they're also, like, not trying to kill your ass, right? Like, that was, like, a quote from, like, the 1800s or something. But, like, they're, like, if your boat crashes on a reef, like, off the coast, they'll shoot at you insofar as to say, stay on your fucking boat. Don't get on our island, motherfucker. Wait for rescue. They know what a rescue boat is 100%. They've witnessed what happens when someone crashes on their island and they get rescued enough that they know what a rescue mission and a rescue boat is at this point. They've definitely put two and two together. So at this point, most of the time that happens, they just kind of fend intruders off. They don't want to kill people, most likely. So they just kind of fend them off, and they're just like, stay on your fucking boat till your people come and rescue you. Imagine if they said it like that. Well, they don't speak English. I mean, like, there was even attempts to bring an interpreter from like, literally the next closest island there, and there was, like, one or two words they had in common.
The Nicobar Islands had fallen under British rule and were formally addressed as part of British India. The arriving British authorities wasted no time in clearing grand expanses of forest for future development, and also happened to bring with them diseases to which the natives of the islands were never exposed, and so many succumbed to the likes of influenza and pneumonia. The population—
Influenza, the flu. If we give them the flu, they will die. Our seasonal flus that we get will kill them. They can't fight it.
Of a group of distinct tribes, collectively referred to as the Great Andamanese,
We need to
fell
leave
by as
them the
much as
fuck
50% in a matter of a few years due to measles. Others, like the Onga, who lived on
Measles
Little
too.
Andaman Island, defended themselves with force. There is an account of dozens of the Onga being killed.
Like, the flu would kill you if we weren't so used to dealing with it, you know?
As they attempted to fend off British rescue boats aiming to retrieve beached sailors during a perilous operation that is now known as the deceivingly amicable-sounding Andaman Islands Expedition of 1867. Outraged at the extensive deforestation, the tribes that lived on Great Andaman Island took part in numerous raids against the British colonial rulers,
Based.
culminating in the Battle of Aberdeen, which took place near Port Blair,
They didn't
and proved
win.
to be a devastating blow for the native
Yeah.
Andamanese, as
Yeah,
up
they
to
didn't win.
1,000 were said to have been killed.
Yeah, the second I saw that the British had guns, I was like, they didn't win. No, they were the good guys and they didn't win. I fucking hate the British. Can I show you an accurate representation? This video goes so fucking hard. This is so accurate.
My word! An Indian! Say, I seem to be lost. I'm looking for the Taj Mahal, but I can't seem to find it. Crikey, sure is hot in India. Say, maybe you can tell me. What is that ball of fire in the sky?
Sun?
Sun. Interesting. Yes, how peculiar. I'm sure glad we don't have one of those in England. That's where I'm from, by the way. England. My name is Jonathan Smith. I'm an Englishman, and considered quite a handsome one at that. Say, how old are you? Have they invented laws here yet? It's really the crux of my question.
Yes.
Ah, well, never mind.
Hello.
Oh, John Ralph, there you are.
What's going on here then?
I was just talking to this wonderful Indian girl.
Hello, darling! Say, do you know where the Taj Mahal is?
I'm sorry.
By the 1870s, relations between the British and the various groups of native inhabitants were dire. The authorities administrating over the islands were under orders to do their best to preserve the numbers of the native tribes and to make an effort.
That's what actually happened, though. That's a real representation of history. If our history teachers just played that in a classroom, like, we would unironically be getting a better education than that drivel they tell us on Christopher Columbus Day. Back when that was a thing when I was a kid. Bro, when I was a kid, on Christopher Columbus Day, they shoved that Christopher Columbus propaganda cock down our throats, dude. They were having us, like, they made us remember what ships... we had to remember the ships and all that, and it was just like, I don't give a fuck. Even back then, I didn't give a fuck about Christopher Columbus. Like, I was only okay with the fact that sometimes we got a day off school. Sometimes we got a day off school.
Effort at integrating them into British culture. Various young Andamanese were captured and forcefully placed into a number of so-called Andaman homes, which sought to re-educate them by means of teaching them the English language, ethics and etiquette, and the benefits of living under British rule. In addition, they were used as laborers in connection with farming and general assistance regarding the upkeep of the numerous penal colonies established on the islands.
Penal.
These homes were only minimally successful. Some Andamanese were eventually made to be more acclimated to the ruler's way of thinking, and even learned English, and so were able to assist in translation. Some were also utilized as trackers whenever convicts from the penal colonies escaped.
This is slavery. Stop trying to whitewash slavery. I get that you have to do this, like, neutral-sounding, historical documentary video, but this is colonization and slavery done by the British. They love doing that. Yeah, he's got handcuffs on. You can see the cuffs.
However, these Andaman homes were also subject to mass outbreaks of disease. These challenges combined with the violent outbreaks necessitated a different approach to maintain good relations. In 1879, British naval officer Maurice Vidal Portman was made superintendent of the penal colony in Port Blair and was also appointed officer in charge of the Andamanese, a position he held for over 20 years. During his tenure, he extensively...
Okay, I'm going to take a wild guess here, all right? I'm going to take a wild guess here and say, because we know how slavery tends to go, okay? I'm going to take a wild guess here. We've seen photos of what the Andamanese look like, and we've also seen photos of what some of the slaves that the British were keeping on the Andamanese islands look like. And some of those slaves look like they have slightly lighter skin, and I'm going to guess that was not because the mother was having a loving relationship with a pasty-ass British dude. I'm going to guess that rape was also a very common occurrence that these British colonizers were inflicting upon the women and children of these tribes and villages. I'm gonna take a wild guess, even though it's not been brought up in the documentary. I've seen the clues. I know enough history to know what happens when British people colonize a bunch of tribes on islands. What happens to the women and the children? I'm gonna take a wild guess.
Explored the Andaman Islands and researched the native peoples and their languages, customs, behavior, and bodies, praising the physique of the Andamanese.
Okay, yeah. All right, yeah, we should have listened for just 5 more seconds. Yeah, we got into full on Get Out level shit. Okay. Very good. Very good. Love to hear it. I was completely correct.
Attention to the men, the study of whom included measuring the lengths of their penises.
Yep, measuring their penises. Yeah, that was also very common with literally every fucking time some weirdo British statesman or some it would always be some fucking Zan pre-watch. I have not pre-watched this. I just know a lot about history. They would do this a lot. You would get some British statesmen who would come in and they would African slaves would be inspected head to toe after being kidnapped and taken from their homes. And they would have their like penises inspected and like measured. These people were weirdos. These weird fucking statesmen, these millionaires that were funding the expeditions to go capture people from their homes and take them across the ocean to be slaves, were real fucking weirdos. Many of them were no doubt pedophiles because they were kidnapping children, and like they would oh god, the level of like listen, okay? I'm not even going to go into detail about, like, some of the horrific invasions of just personal dignity that were done. But the fact that people were being kept as chattel and were being treated as an object, as property, meant that they were being evaluated as such, and it was in a very disrespectful way. This does not surprise me. The way, like, there is a lot of fucking whitewashing of even the most horrific atrocities in history. We talk about slavery and we talk about colonization and we talk about how horrific it is in sort of this nebulous, etheric sort of intangible way. Like, it's super bad, trust me, bro. But we're really scared to get down to the nitty-gritty of just how horrific these atrocities were. And the things I'm discussing right now happened by the thousands every day for hundreds of years. The amount of death and human suffering that occurred cannot be put into words.
Portman was also a meticulous photographer and took a myriad of photos of the people, some under clinical circumstances against a checkered background to
These fucking weirdos. These people were fucking pedophile weirdos. I guarantee it. They were... I'm not going to go into detail about what they were doing, but, like, if it's anything like what slavers were doing, it was fucked up. This shit was not that long ago, and these people were not without power. It is... These are photos. These are photographs. Granted, this is the 1800s, I believe, but, like, we had photographs!
exactly notate the height and curvature
Dude,
of their
we had
bodies,
photographs!
and some in more homoerotic compositions. During his time in Port Blair, the British administrators began executing gift-giving missions, a means of making the Andamanese more at ease with their rulers by approaching their living spaces with the offer of gifts, such as exotic foods like coconuts. Portman took...
Bro, they... Ah, yes. We have spent the last 100 years enslaving you and your men and raping your women and children. We'll give you some metal spears and some coconuts and some nets. I'm sure that will make up for the hundreds of years of colonization, torture, and slavery. Be on your way, then.
part in just such gift-giving expeditions to North Sentinel Island in an effort to establish peaceful contact with the Sentinelese, a people that, due to their island's unimportant
paid
resources
them off like
and
the
their
mafia.
aggressive resistance, have so far evaded the mistreatment and abuse experienced by so many of the other tribes. In 1880, Portman arrived at the island by ship, accompanied by a sizable group of armed troops, and
This actually reminds me, a fair amount of the stuff I know about the atrocities of, like, what people went through, and I'm talking about just on the, like, if you were, like, an African who was taken from Africa and sold into slavery, like that side of it, because that was honestly the most interesting part of the book, if I'm being honest, is Roots. I read Roots because I have the same name as the author, and it actually reminded me of a story that has to do with that. I went to the hospital when I was younger, when I was 18, and when I was checked out of the hospital, there was a security guard, and this is relevant to the story, but he was a black guy, and he was handing me my stuff, and my stuff had a name tag on it, right? And he was just like, "Oh, that's a really powerful name you have." And I was, like, really confused at first, because honestly, I was coming out of the hospital. I was loopy and, like, just wanted to go home. I didn't know. I wasn't even I couldn't even remember my name at that moment. And so I assumed Alexander the Great. And then he was like, and so I almost said Alexander the Great. And then he mentioned book and author. And I immediately clicked for me. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Fuck. I literally have, like, I've read Roots. I know, like, yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah. And so we had a fun combo about that. That was a cool interaction. That was funny. I've had funny interactions where people have assumed that I would not be white because of my name being Alex Haley. Yeah, that's funny as fuck. There's a dorm at my college named Alex Haley Hall. That's based as fuck. After the author, of course. No, after me.
Great Andamanese trackers of the Akabeya tribe with the aim of establishing friendly contact.
No, but you actually should read Roots, even though it is not. It's not entire. It's fictional. It's historical fiction to an extent. There are some creative liberties taken, but overall the historical events are all like very sound. It's very well researched and a very good way of like getting like a. It's just a good fucking book, dog. Like it's just good. It's just a good book. I haven't read it in a long time, but you know, with the name that I had to read it, and it's it'll definitely educate you if you don't know a lot about that particular topic. You should write a book so you can be the author Alexander Haley. Yeah, but I just go by Alex, so yeah. Zan's next Minecraft server will be a massive dormitory.
Interestingly, the tribesmen apparently had warned Portman of the islanders' violent disposition, indicating
Don't
that
just
perhaps
watch the film
people of
adaptation.
North Sentinel Island had entered seclusion much more recently than some may have thought before.
The book actually like takes a break from telling a story to explain history. Like, at several points in the book, it stops being from the perspective of, there are several main characters. It stops being from the perspective of the, character who is currently being the main character at the given point in the book, and stops and, like, gives a blurb about, like, the historical context of what's occurring. So it's both a story of historical fiction and a history book. It's interesting. I highly recommend reading it or listening to it on an audiobook. I read it. I read that shit. I was 16 and I would just like, at the time I was super fucking grounded from video games. So all I could do was read. So I had a habit of just like waking up, making some morning oatmeal, cracking open Roots and just reading like 8 chapters a day. I burned through it pretty fast. The Kizzy story makes me cry. I mean, yeah, like when the story switches to Kizzy, it's like, wait, what? No, wait, what? What? Wait, are you serious? And it just, she's just taken away from her father, and you never see him again, just like real life. It's a cruel, unceremonial separation of a family, and it's just like that's how it went in real life. She never saw him again, and that's just how it would go, and it's very sad. But yeah, spoiler. I know. I just read the book or listen to an audiobook. It's really good. Like it's good to learn about the historical context about the horrors of colonization, because you know how we talk a lot about here in America, the best way to understand modern day, socioeconomic positions that lead to modern day racism, you have to understand the history of racism in this country, because it's not just a bunch of disconnected historical points that you learn about in class in different chapters. It's a flowing like line of events that occur and cause and affect each other. It is important to know that those events were influenced by events that came well before that. So learning about that early like history of colonialism and the horrors and atrocities that occurred hundreds or even thousands of years ago has merit, because it has a level of impact on today even.
Another alternative is that the trackers were confused about what tribe they were to contact and mistook the Sentinelese for Jarawas, the group directly neighboring the Great Andamanese, who were seen as their ancient enemies. The Sentinelese rapidly retreated deep into the foresty heart of the island upon witnessing the approaching ship. Portman's men then searched for the islanders for days, only to find abandoned villages and paths. Portman resorted to taking photographs of the Great Andamanese tribesmen posing in mock situations, depicting how he imagined the people of North Sentinel Island cooked.
Yep, so a lot of the black and white photos you'll see of the North Sentinelese, if they're not from the water looking at the coast, are actually tribes people from the Great Andaman Islands, or the Great Andaman Island, like the Great Island, that were just brought there and told to pose, and just told to the rest of the world, yeah, these are the North Sentinelese, believe me. And none of the rest of the world's going to question it, because especially at that time, the rest of the world was racist as fuck.
Slept and looked out for enemies. He and his men eventually came across an elderly man and woman and 4 children. They captured the group of 6 and brought them by ship.
We're about to hear... So this is the story that I referenced earlier about disease. So we're going to find out, like, this is why they can't be introduced to the rest of the world.
To Port Blair, seemingly without struggle or protest. Portman noted that they had peculiarly idiotic facial expressions and ways of behaving. In Port Blair, all of the Sentinelese fell ill, and the elderly couple soon died. Portman then made the decision to quickly bring back the sick children to the island, along with a generous number of gifts.
Terrible idea, by the way. Bring the children back to the island. Terrible idea. Those children were dead the second they got off the island onto their boat. Unfortunately, all they can do at that point is try their best to keep those kids alive with modern, or at the time, medicine, and just help them as best they can with very little chance of the kids making it. Bringing them back just makes them into a potential disease vector. That was the worst fucking idea. God.
No doubt the disease the children brought back with them must have spread to the other Sentinelese as well, but to what extent they were affected cannot be determined. Some cite this incident as the catalyst for the islanders' violent resistance against outsiders, though given the past records of their attacks, this claim is inaccurate, though it surely did not improve the Sentinelese's outlook of the outside world. In 1883, Portman briefly returned to the island upon hearing loud distant sounds of gunfire emanating from the waters, presuming that they were distress calls of a sinking ship. He landed on North Sentinel Island, but found no shipwrecks and no islanders either. He left gifts once more and retreated back to Port Blair. It was only later learned from telegram reports that the sounds of gunshots were in fact the explosive eruptions of the volcano Mount Krakatoa in Indonesia.
Holy shit! Dude, that has got to be one of those, like, really weird and confusing things prior to instant communication. Like, a big volcano explodes somewhere on the planet, and, like, a quarter of the planet feels it, and it's just like, what the fuck was that? And they just don't know what that was unless word gets to them that, like, yeah, a couple months ago a volcano went off. Really? Was that what that was? Huh. I guess that explains why we can't see the sun right now.
Not long after this point, interest in the island ceased, and further efforts to establish friendly communication was put on hold. Later in life, Portman said to the Royal Geographical Society in London that he deeply regretted making contact with the Andamanese, for the exposure to the British brought them nothing but harm, and it saddened him that such a pleasant race began to rapidly progress toward extinction.
Do you think that was like him displaying genuine guilt? Do you think, like, later in his life and after witnessing, like, the outcomes of his actions, he realized, like, how horrific it was and was, like, he was genuinely guilty? Because we're talking about a time when there was no woke points or, like, there were no points to be gained morally for, like, saying something like this. Like, he wouldn't have really had much of a motivation to say that he regretted it, and all of his other, like, visits were to drop stuff off for them. Like, he was definitely a weirdo creep. I like that makes you wonder, like, do you think even back then there were people, like, who were doing this insane shit who just realized, like, fuck, this is awful and I regret it? Yeah, there had to be. Like, it's why I give so little credence to the people who try to say, well, you can't really blame insert historical figure for having owned slaves. It was the thing that everyone did at the time. It's like, no. I think that even back then, human moral consciousness would have said, this is another person that I'm, like, mistreating right now. Yeah, like, John Brown figured it out.
In 1896, the Sentinelese's secluded way of life was briefly interrupted once again. 3 Indian convicts escaped from the penal colony in Port Blair and made their way in a makeshift raft to any nearby island that would welcome them. 2 of the escapees drowned in the reefs which surrounded North Sentinel, while the 3rd reached the beach alive. Some days later, a search party landed on the island and found the convict dead on the beach, having been pierced by arrows numerous times. The authorities noted that they did not see any of the island's inhabitants. This was the last major interference from the outside world for the better part of half a century, as the Sentinel...
The better outcome was drowning? Nah, I would die by, like, getting peppered with arrows by the North Sentinelese over drowning any day. Also, I couldn't drown. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, one, I'm a very good swimmer, and two, as a very good swimmer who's done so much swimming, I would never disrespect myself by dying by drowning, okay? I would never allow that to happen. Like, I would be in the water, and the sheer, like, hatred for that concept I have would give me more energy to keep swimming. I could tread water for days until I freeze to death. Or just, like, straight up run out of energy and just die from exhaustion. Like, I would, ugh. Undercurrents, doesn't matter how good of a swimmer you are. I'm gonna be real. I've swam a lot in the ocean, and I've felt a lot of currents. I felt riptides, I felt undercurrents, I felt swells and waves. I've swam in 12-foot deep water off the coast of the Keys as an 8-year-old with my mom while there were water spouts actively around us. I'm not joking, by the way. There were water spouts around us. We were like a half mile away from a water spout just floating on some boogie boards, like, Jesus Christ. You know, like, it was crazy. That was crazy. I don't remember much from my visit to the Keys at 8 years old, but I remember sitting in the water with my mom with, like, and it was deep water too, and just looking out at those water spouts. Yeah, I've never had a problem with currents. That's the thing. Like, I've always just, like, when I feel a riptide pulling me out further out, I just kind of realized, oh, I just need to, like, move out of it, you know? Just move over. Because it's just a little area just pulling outwards, so you just kind of move out of it. Like I grew up at the beach, you know? Like, my mom took me to the beach a lot. I spent a lot of time in the water. I know the currents. It's just a Florida man thing. I will simply not drown. The real worry of drowning that I have is getting caught on something. That's something that you can't, like, get around, right? So, like, my mom rescued someone when she was a kid. She saved a guy's life who was swimming in a spring, and his bathing suit got stuck. Like, his trunks got stuck on... He might have been wearing something else. I don't think it was trunks. It was something he was wearing got stuck on a branch, and he was stuck down there drowning. My mom, who was, like, maybe 15, 14 at the time, I could ask her. She's actually visiting right now. Hey, Mom? How old were you when you saved that guy from drowning? "13. She was 13 years old. She had to dive down and save this, like, grown man who was, like, stuck on the bottom of the pool, or on the bottom of the spring on a branch. So, like, water is in our fucking family, okay? We're good at that shit. Jacksepticeye vibes. Hey, Ma! Look at me go, Ma! Yeah. My mom just flew out today, and she's visiting right now, and it's such good timing because we are currently in... I've sunlocked so hard here, Cherry. You're gonna have to edit this bit out if it's not relevant enough. Right now, it is actually, like, fruit blooming season, or fruit ripening season. Like, harvesting season in Washington State. So, all over Seattle, there are blackberry vines that are just an epidemic here, okay? They're just everywhere. They're just everywhere, okay? If you are from here, you know already. That is a very special thing as someone who's from Florida. If I found, like, a blackberry bush, it's like, yo, like, this is awesome. Don't eat it. Why? Is it dangerous? Aren't they, like, boysenberries? No, they're blackberries. I got sick from eating them. You have to wash them, dude. You have to wash them. Did you not wash them? Like, you gotta soak those fuckers. I was 7. Well, tons of people pick them and eat them, so, like, it's not a big deal. You just have to wash them, especially because, like, I picked them from, like, a little median on the side of the road, so yeah, you gotta wash those fuckers. Ideally, soak them and, like, leave them under running water for a while and use some soap, but they could be covered in pesticides, which is just straight up poison and shit like that, so yeah. Like, I've already eaten a couple. They didn't get me sick, but I washed those fuckers. Lol, I've never washed them, and I've always been fine as fuck. Yeah, well, I'm not going to take any risks, but yeah, me and my mom are going to be walking around and doing... Maybe I should do a video. Would you guys watch a video where I go to a park and I'm just, like, gathering a bucket full of blackberries to make some cobbler? Hell yeah. All right, Cherry, you can edit all this stun lock out.
Sentinelese carried on with their lives in their secluded world. The coral reef which surrounded them, in addition to the rough and unpredictable seas, was a known threat to local fishermen and any ships nearby, which proved to serve as a protective barrier for the islanders. This also may be a reason why they never strayed from their island. They built canoes that were quite similar to the ones used by the Onga group of natives, who predominantly inhabited the island of Little Andaman to the south of North Sentinel. Unlike the Onga, who traveled to other islands for fishing, the Sentinelese only rowed their boats in the shallow waters along their coast, propelling themselves with long poles pushed off the ground underwater. They are believed to hunt turtles in these waters, and are thought to largely sustain themselves on mollusks on the count of roasted shells spotted on their shores. Up until 1947, when India won independence from the British Commonwealth, the people of North Sentinel Island most likely lived undisturbed. In fact, the first census conducted by newly independent India failed to make mention of the Sentinelese altogether. It was only 5 years later, in 1956, that their presence was recognized, as the government officially declared the island a tribal reserve and forbade anyone from coming within 3 nautical miles.
In 1956, India began their protection of this island. In 1956. Could you imagine, like, 2023 America doing something like this? We would have had a Wendy's there and a Walmart, as well as an airstrip and a Strode built there in the 80s.
Armed patrol boats would on occasion visit the vicinity as an extra measure to prevent intrusions. However, the island itself was not seen as part of India, and in practice, the Sentinelese operated almost as a self-governing independent state. In 1967, their peaceful life was once more disturbed when Indian anthropologist Chuloknath Pandit was allowed to travel to the island and conduct a research expedition with the hope of achieving peaceful contact through gift-giving, just like the British had done 100 years before.
Stop!
When Pandit and his team of 20 arrived by boat.
Let them play the game vanilla. Stop trying to cheat items in for them, okay? They're trying to play vanilla. Let them play vanilla. Stop trying to boost them on the progression tree. Let them collect the resources and like go up the like tech tree on their own at their own pace. Yeah, stop spoiling them. You're giving them spoilers. Yeah.
The natives did not attack, but rather hid in the woods. The anthropological team went deep into the forest and eventually uncovered a total of 18 deserted slanted roof huts, with remnants of small fires outside each one. The expedition team placed a coconut in each hut, along with some metal pots and pans.
Bro, I love how they bring coconuts. It's like... You know they probably are better at getting those things than you are, right? Like most people who've grown up around coconut palms know how to climb one. Like, do you think your pasty British ass is going to offer up one coconut and that's going to be seen as like a great offering? Like what? Bring like a slab of beef or something. Like bring something special. You know, if you're going to leave a gift, bring something that's like literally unobtainable to them, you know? Like something that they like playing legit vanilla IRL tech tree development they would never be able to obtain in vanilla, right? Like, you know, like bring them some cacti, right? Like you could drop off a few cacti or something, like introduce them to... No, that would probably be bad. It would probably take over the island. I don't know. Just like... Just leave them alone.
And iron hammers and knives before retreating back to their boat, planning
Okay,
to further their efforts in
that's
establishing
useful.
friendly contact and better opportunities for conducting research. Pandit posited that the team's large number may have scared off the natives, and so pledged to later take small teams of 8 or 9 with him instead,
Give them cocaine. No.
possibly to add legitimacy to Pandit's and other Indian anthropologists' investigations. In 1970, a surveying party briefly landed on North Sentinel Island and placed a stone
What would happen if we, like, airdropped an iPhone? A fully charged iPhone with a charging brick and a charger wire. And it was turned on and unlocked. And it couldn't lock. It would have no reception. But we had, like, a bunch of YouTube videos on there. And it was all, like, Subway Surfers, Andrew Tate YouTube shorts.
tablet on the beach, which declared that the island was now recognized as territory belonging to India. In
They'd bury it.
1974, filmmaker Prem Vaidya,
Fair.
accompanied by Pandit and a team of filmographers and anthropologists, traveled to several of the Andaman Islands to document the natives who lived there. Their explorations formed the short-length documentary film Man in Search of Man. They managed to establish friendly relations
Jesus.
with the Onga and Jarawas, but failed to do so with the Sentinelese. They first arrived by boat and placed a selection of gifts on the shore, including aluminum cookware, a plastic toy car, a doll, coconuts, and a live pig. Then the crew retreated back to their boat and from a distance waited for the islanders to come out. After a long while,
Well, the charging block would be charged, so they'd be able to recharge the phone with the charging brick. You nincompoop.
the Sentinelese excitedly came out of the woods, observing the boat in the distance. The crew members displayed for them gestures of goodwill and friendship, but the islanders did not respond.
They saw the coconuts and were like, we know that analogy. We already know about that thought experiment. We're not sucking any dick. And they pull out their bows and arrows.
In kind. They moved and shouted in aggression and fired arrows at the film crew's boat. One Sentinelese warrior
Based.
succeeded in striking a crew member in the leg. The man who shot him then retreated back to the
Wait,
tree
he hit
line.
the gritty! Wait, did you see that? After shooting him, he hit a Fortnite dance!
Man who shot him then retreated back to the tree line and sat down in the shade, smiling and laughing, seemingly pleased with his accomplishment.
Did you see that? I shot him in the knee! I used to be a colonizer like you, but then I took an arrow in the knee.
The crew observed
hit the
that the
gritty on him.
Sentinelese were not fond of some of their gifts, as they speared the pig to death and later buried it in the sand, along with a doll. However,
Yeah, they're like actively doing a display of like, we don't want your shit. Stop coming here and trying to give us shit. We don't want it. Poor pig. Yeah, the poor pig, but also like, for one, that pig was probably infested with disease and they knew it at that point. You know what happened last time a living thing was brought to their island? It caused a pandemic, no doubt. So they know that pig was probably a disease bomb, so they killed it on site and buried it to keep its disease from spreading. And they buried the dolls because they probably know fabric at that point contains... They probably figured out some level of germ theory. Like, it's not hard. Like, they've been there for tens of thousands of years. They probably have some level of germ theory understanding. So they've figured out, no doubt, that fabric things and animals, living things that come from the mainland or the outside world are a danger to them, and they need to bury it and quarantine it. So burying it in the sand is a good form of quarantine.
they appeared to be interested in the cookware and took it back with them to the forest. The team then left, with little more understanding of the people of North Sentinel Island than before, other than that they probably did not appreciate pig. A similar occurrence befell another exploring team in 1975, when King Leopold III of Belgium was taken on tour of the Andaman Islands. Once his boat got close to the shores of North Sentinel, its inhabitants came out to express to them that their guests were unwelcome by shooting
only they
arrows in the
landed
boat's direction.
a true
Rather
shot.
than feeling any threat for his life, the king was overjoyed at the exchange, claiming
course he
it was the
was.
happiest day of his life.
Of course he was.
Throughout the 70s and 80s, Pandit and other anthropologists continued carrying out expeditionary missions to the islands, always delivering gifts, and always threatened with death if they came too close. He remarked
them
that before
alone.
the 1970s, the Jaroa tribe was held much in the same regard as the Sentinelese, mercilessly violent people who would never allow a visitor to leave alive. However, upon anthropologists making visits there in the early 70s, they were greeted with songs and dances, as the Jaroas welcomed and pleasantly examined their curious-looking guests. Pandit believed that consistent gift-giving missions were key in attaining a cordial relationship with the natives. It was also important that they respected the Sentinelese's boundaries, and so backed away when it was made clear
I just thought of a really fucked up joke, but it's more racist to white people, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it. The Andaman Islands tribes tend to be like really blown away at the unusual skin tone of the Indian people who arrive. I like to imagine if they saw like a white British person, they'd just be like, "Ah! I can't see! I'm blind! Oh my god! Cover that person up! Oh my god! Can I have some sunglasses or something? Jesus! I didn't know a person could... is that a ghost? Are you a wraith?" I'm sorry. But that would actually be the correct reaction to seeing a white person for the first time.
that they should travel no further, hoping that eventually they could come closer and closer to these mysterious people. In one trip, Pandit took with him to Ongamen in the hopes of establishing verbal communication, in a similar vein to Portman's past attempt, though by now, anthropologists believed that the Onga were more closely related to the Sentinelese than any other Andamanese group. The Onga tried to speak to the islanders on the beach via a megaphone, but mutual understanding evidently did not take place. It is not certain whether it was something the Sentinelese said, or the way they said it, but the shouts from the shore eventually prompted the Onga to retreat deeper into the boat, leaving them frightened, and they informed the team members that they thought the Sentinelese were a threatening and dangerous group.
What did they pick up that they heard that we were like, yeah, we don't want to go near there? Because I feel like they already knew, yeah, the Sentinelese, they're known for, attacking people on sight. It's a pretty big thing. What did they hear that made them go, we're not going in there? I'm curious.
In July 1981, the freight ship Primrose, operated by 28 crewmen mostly hailing from China, was beached in the shallows of North Sentinel Island after it was violently pushed astray by monsoon. The captain determined that the ship was in no threat of sinking, so the men waited on board for rescue to arrive. After a short while, the men noticed figures in the distance appearing from the forests of the island. At first assuming it was a rescue team trying to reach them by boat, they soon realized that they were very wrong. It was the Sentinelese preparing their canoes to try and get to the Primrose about 1,000 feet away. They were also armed with bows and arrows and were firing at the freighter. Fortunately, the winds were strong and all arrows flying through the air were pushed far off course. Also, the sea was too rough for the Sentinelese to traverse through. The captain radioed Hong Kong, frantically pleading for an immediate airdrop of firearms for his crew to defend themselves as they were being attacked by the natives, and could not guarantee the lives of his men if the weather were to clear. The Indian Navy attempted a rescue by ship, but failed on the count of the treacherous waves. The Navy had no other ships or helicopters available in the vicinity, and by the time another could arrive to help the Primrose, it might have been too late. Instead, Robert Four and Vic Vierspa, helicopter pilots working for a private Indonesian aviation company, were asked to attempt the rescue mission as a friendly favor by the Indian Naval District Commander. The pilots set out on August 2nd, and by the time they got to North Sentinel Island, the winds and strong waves were still relentless. The pilots observed that the ship was around 300 feet from the coast, and as long as the weather persisted, the ship's crew ought to remain safe. Struggling against the rough weather, the helicopter landed on the Primrose in heavy crosswinds. After setting down, the pilots assessed that they had only 2 feet of clearance between the aircraft's main propeller and the ship's loading cranes on either side. the entire crew of the Primrose were flown to safety over 3 separate trips to Port Blair.
3
And throughout this
trips.
whole operation, the Sentinelese were nowhere to be seen. The Primrose, for the moment, was left behind on the shores of the island. Throughout the 1980s, gift-giving missions continued, with the confident hope that the people of North Sentinel Island would eventually warm up to their visitors, just like the Onga, the Jarawas, and the Great Antimonese had. Evidence of progress, though, mostly eluded the expeditionary teams. Pandit observed that on one occasion, the Sentinelese on the beach expressed their opinions of the anthropologists by turning their backs
Imagine if they climbed up the boat at night. That would have gone hard as fuck.
to the boat and
It would've been a
assuming
way
a
cooler
defecating
story.
posture, letting Pandit know very clearly what the natives thought of his team. Another time, the Sentinelese men greeted his team's boat with hostility from the shore, when suddenly, a woman came out of the trees and engaged in an embrace with one of the warriors. Other women soon joined her, each one choosing a man to pair off with. The embraces grew in passion as the proceedings soon developed into a veritable orgy. The couples gradually retreated back into the forest, leaving only a few lone sentinels guarding their island from the beach. The reasoning for this event is uncertain, but could have been an instinctual effort by the women to calm down their angry warrior partners. Visits continued until 1991, when the most
Okay.
significant breakthrough to date took place. A team of 13, which included Indian anthropologist Madhumala
Well,
Chattopadhyay, for
I have no commentary on that. I don't know. I don't know why they would have done that. I can't even speculate.
some unclear reason, were welcomed by unarmed Sentinelese for the first time. Pandit at the time was ill and not present for the
Maybe they're trying every method to get people to fuck off. They've tried violence. They've tried rejecting gifts in front of them. Now they're like, what if we made them really embarrassed by fucking in front of them? You know, like let's just make it like very like embarrassing to be there, and maybe they'll leave. You know? Like we've tried everything else. Let's try something new this time.
historic event. After several rounds of throwing coconuts into the water for the islanders to collect, the team then jumped into the water themselves and handed the coconuts to the Sentinelese, which they graciously took. Photos taken of the friendly exchange were circulated widely through the Indian press, helping to change the perception of the tribe.
I don't think that was
Just
real,
a month
though.
later, Pandit returned with a larger team, and they were met with similar results. Gestures of goodwill and friendship were offered from the boat, and the initially uneasy islanders came out of the tree line to accept their gifts, with no visible animosity. Pandit's research team, accompanied by videographers and photographers recording the groundbreaking exchange, jumped out of their boats and stood in the shallow waters near the beach, throwing coconuts to the seemingly welcoming islanders. Both Sentinelese men and women came into the waters themselves to happily accept the generous gifts, while Sentinelese children remained on the shore to observe.
They just gave
During
up.
the exchange, one curious warrior standing in the water, apparently observing the odd object the camera operator was holding, was pulled back to the shore by an aggravated-looking woman, as if angered that the man had gotten too close to the potentially dangerous strangers. At another point,
Probably
one
a
of
good
Pandit's
idea.
team members threw a coconut toward
Like
the
one-
water, though by mistake.
One guy's errant sneeze this close to the water, or to the shore, could just be the fucking end, dude. Like, it's like, listen, okay, we'll pick up the coconuts, alright? But, like, stay the fuck away from them. You've heard the stories about what happens when these people get too close to us. Like, get back here, man. Fuck.
Struck a Sentinelese woman in the back, bringing her down to the ground. But the event was seemingly judged by all as an honest accident, and no trouble ensued as the woman got herself up and carried coconuts.
Dude, just push the coconuts in the water over. Don't lob them over. Oh my god. That's like, that had to have been like one of those moments where the guy who threw that coconut, like, blood runs cold. Like, bones turn to glass, just frozen, like... And she turns around and just goes, I know that was an accident. He's just like, God, Jesus, fuck.
Coconuts back to the beach with a smile on her face. At another point, a pleased-looking man briefly grabbed his penis to perform a masturbatory motion, possibly to express the enjoyment he was feeling from this gift-giving. Toward the end of the exchange, Pandit happened to have wandered away from the rest of his group, and
I would interpret that as an insult, but okay.
was by himself, closer to the beach than the others. A young Sentinelese man on the shore looked at him.
Wait, I know what it is now. So they tried making visitors embarrassed by fucking in front of them. Like, all right, if you come here, you'll see an orgy. And then that didn't work. So now they're being passive-aggressive. Like, okay, let's see if they'll leave us alone if we be passive-aggressive. They're trying every possible way they could theoretically get people to stop visiting them.
Him with a funny face, took out a knife, and made a neck-cutting gesture, clearly expressing that Pandit would be killed if he were to come any closer. He took the
Yeah, they're being
sentiment to heart and
passive-aggressive.
called for his team to retreat. Though peaceful close contact had finally been made, the people of North Sentinel Island were still far more resistant to outsiders than the
That water's
Jarlas,
beautiful,
Onga,
though.
or the Great Andamanese. There were further coconut-bearing expeditions that took place not long after that were
It sucks that they, like, probably can't spend a lot of time on the beach or in the water without the, like, active fear of outsiders showing up to fuck with them, because they live in such a beautiful place and the beach is so gorgeous and the water's so beautiful. Like I feel like they'd be having daily beach parties if they weren't, no doubt, constantly worried about being seen from the shore.
were similarly welcoming. Pandit retired in 1992, extremely pleased with the rewarding progress in friendly relations that he greatly helped cultivate. Whatever compelled the Sentinelese to become far less aggressive appeared to have been somewhat of a policy change within their community that was experienced by others outside of the anthropological teams. In that same year, a salvaging team was sent to
Yeah, violence didn't work. Let's try being really weird and hope that works.
the island to dismantle and bring back any part of the Primrose shipwreck that remained above the waterline. 2 days after the team began cutting up what remained of the ship, curious Sentinelese men in canoes made their approach. They were then put at ease by the salvage team
Like,
with offerings
The fact that it's always seems in these photos and these stories seems to be some like white dude coming and trying to make contact with the Sentinelese. What is it about? This is what I call like this is like a correct application of the term like white audacity. Okay, the idea that these like wealthy white dudes have this like inherent belief in themselves that they have the right, they are entitled to go and like contact this uncontacted tribe and drag them unwillingly into the modern world. It's this bizarre narcissism, you know, like, and I feel like that term applies very accurately to these people that just keep on visiting the island and trying to like super, I guess, white saviory, bring in, caucasity is the term, like bring in, like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you gifts until you accept us, and then you're gonna show us your way of life. It's like, fuck right off.
of bananas. Over the next
Stop trying to buy their affection like one would an animal. They're people. They're smart enough to know what you're trying to do. Like, it's literally like trying to disarm an animal is what they're treating them like. Like, yeah, let's give them like toys and trinkets and food, and maybe it'll like be friendly towards us. No, those are people over there. They can reason out what your motivations might be, dude. It's racist just the fact that you think that you're going to be able to buy their trust in this way, like one would like a dog.
next 18 months, as salvage work continued, the islanders made periodic returns to the wreck, climbing aboard and making close contact with the team members as they examined the metal scraps that were being cut up. The Sentinelese were offered long iron rods, but they seemed to be more interested in receiving flat strips. They did
Easier
not
to
attack
cold
the
forge.
salvage team and were significantly startled by their welding torch every time they came aboard. Upon finishing the salvage, the people of North Sentinel Island were left alone with no violent incident, as peaceful relations seemed to be within reach. Outside
nice
of
at
North
least.
Sentinel Island, the other native tribes of the Andaman Islands continued to come into closer and closer contact with the Indian settlers, almost always with negative outcomes.
Ted
The
Cruz's
great
dad killed
Andamanese, who used to
JFK.
belong to various
I don't think
tribes of
that's true,
distinct culture
but I'm
and
gonna choose
language,
to believe
have
it's
been nearly
true.
wiped out. A people who used to number in the thousands have now been reduced to a population of less than 60. Furthermore, those who identify themselves as Great Andamanese have largely assimilated and mostly speak Hindi, and are not fluent in any Andamanese language. In addition, a large percentage are of mixed ancestry and have Burmese and Indian descendants. Some of the Great Andamanese practice agriculture, while some others hold positions in local government. Until the
That's cool.
1940s, the Unga were the only inhabitants of Little Andaman Island until their home was encroached by settlers from India, Bangladesh, and the Nicobar Islands. The Unga people's freedom was truly taken away in 1976 when they were forcibly resettled into small reserves, where they had to live in more modern housing facilities in an apparent attempt to ensure proper hygiene, healthcare, and resistance against the elements. The Unga still continue to hunt and forage for food in what's left of the surrounding forests, most of which have been completely cleared. They are thus reliant on the Andamanese government for many supplies, such as rice and lentils. In spite of all the assistance they receive in terms of healthcare and diet, the Unga are in noticeably poorer condition than before their resettlement, and their population
Because you've destroyed, like, literally, the governments of the outside world have destroyed their hunting ground and where they used to live, and so they're like, yeah, if you destroy... Okay, so I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but like, there's a lot that goes into the health of human beings that relies on your diet. It's surprisingly deep. For example, humans had pretty straight teeth before the development of modern dentistry. Braces were, generally speaking, not that necessary. Like, people generally had fairly straight teeth back in, like, medieval times and stuff, which would surprise you, because, like, why? Why would they have straight teeth? Especially, like, ancient humans had surprisingly straight teeth. And the reason for that, at least that's estimated, is that chewing hard things throughout your life actually strengthens your gums and your jaw and your teeth and helps to keep them straight and in the proper, like, position for optimal chewing. Use of them for, like, and because we eat so much soft stuff now, we're like, back then we literally, like, did not have much in the way of, like, soft food. But nowadays, like, everything's so soft that we aren't really working out our jaws and our gums and our teeth as much, and so they're a lot more vulnerable to being overworked and hurt when we do get into situations where they need to be used. So, like, it could be down to, like, this tribe's had their hunting ground taken away, and now, like, their diets have been fucked up, so that causes their teeth, like, this is someone getting their teeth looked at, that causes their dental health to go down the drain. They'd lose a lot of weight, which would cause tons of other issues. Dehydration could be an issue if they don't have access to clean water, and that can kill you in the matter of days, or just if you don't have access to enough water, just really deplete your health over a long period of time. Yeah. It's crazy. The amount of, like, cascading issues. Like, this is the kind of stuff that, like, I do think we need to learn about, because these issues persist to this day. There are populations of people in this world who, like, 60 years ago were living perfectly happy lives as nomadic, like, uncontacted tribes, you know, out in the middle of, like, nowhere, with untouched environments, untouched habitats to hunt and live and survive in, that have now been destroyed, and they've been relocated to areas where there's nothing for them there. They're basically just left in poverty and have no access to, like, any realistic way of, like, achieving a quality of life that they once had, right? It's a big issue. And they don't have access to modern luxuries either. They're stuck in this, like, middle ground.
Continues to dwindle. The Jarowa tribe perhaps suffer the worst fate out of all the surviving tribes. In 1990, a similar resettlement plan as that of the Onga was announced, which would have moved the Jarowa people into 2 small villages and forced...
That shit was heartbreaking to read about in Anthropology. Literally, anytime a colonial empire or a new big country is created, there's anywhere from 10 to hundreds of stories of that scenario. Exactly.
Them into a diet reliant on fishery, with their established culture of hunting and foraging reduced to a quote-unquote sporting activity. They were to be even provided with designated clothing to wear to make them look more modernized. The Jarowa resettlement plan went through a period of lengthy debate and criticism, with one Indian lawyer defending the plan by stating,
to this day.
"I am
Colonialism has
civilized,
not
and they
stopped.
are not civilized." After fierce campaigning and debating, the resettlement plan was abandoned in the early 2000s, but
Thank
the
God.
Jarowa's troubles were far from over. National Highway 4, also known as the Andaman Trunk Road, is a highway that stretches over 200 miles,
Of
connecting
course.
Port Blair on South Andaman
highway.
Island to Diglipur on North Andaman Island, running through all major towns along its route. The road also cuts through the territory populated by the Jaroas. Though there are laws in place to stop people traveling through from coming in contact with the natives, there are tourism companies.
Alright, as horrific as it is, this would probably be one of the most beautiful highways to drive down in the entire world. I mean, to be fair, that is the highway. It's a one-lane road. But that's got to be one of the most beautiful highways to drive down in existence. Like all things aside, like to be able to walk down that highway or like drive down it would be pretty beautiful. USA brained? I am pretty USA brained.
That precisely advertise such a journey, akin to a human safari. The Andaman Trunk Road subjects the Jaroas to conflicts from poachers who take their resources, and visits from locals and tourists alike who tempt them with cigarettes, alcohol, and sexually assault their women.
Bro. They don't even need the CIA.
Adding to the increased accounts of native people falling gravely ill after being exposed to diseases for which they have no immunity, government-supported gift-giving missions were put to
The people going through on tourism, like, got them addicted to fucking alcohol and drugs, and of course engaged in like crime against them. They probably robbed them too, among the rapes and sexual assaults. Like, Jesus. See? It's important to learn about this shit. As a lefty, it is your job to fill your brain with knowledge about as many atrocities against human life as physically possible.
To a complete stop by the late 1990s. This included ceasing all contact with the people of North Sentinel Island. Though the change was understandable and in their best interest, it is quite possible that the Sentinelese may have been surprised and confused by the sudden stop in visitors, especially when outsiders seemed to have been increasingly becoming more trusted. This new no-contact policy perhaps contributed to a return of hostilities against all visitors.
Interesting. So for a brief time, they were friendly to visitors, and they kind of softened up, but then they enforced a no-contact policy again, and now when visitors come by, they get attacked. So it's back to business as usual. Huh. I didn't know that there was a period where, like, full-on, the Sentinelese were somewhat amenable to people visiting, as long as they didn't enter, like, the island. Obviously, you couldn't go on the island, but you could kind of get up on the shore.
On December 26, 2004, the devastating Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami, which killed and affected hundreds of thousands of people, also had a notable geomorphological change in the region, and even slightly altered the shape of the Earth. North Sentinel Island, too, shifted because of the earthquake, and its submerged coral reefs were now pushed above water level, possibly greatly affecting their fishery, if any Sentinelese survived the tsunami, that is. A survey helicopter sent
That would probably improve their fishing. That amount of, like, a shallow coral shoal like this, that is a fisherman's dream. I can't see it up close, but, like, if I look at that and I'm just like, God, I wish I had a spear to go, like, snorkeling in there and just, like, yeah, that might actually be, and that's going to be protection against future storms. That's actually like, you know what's probably the likely, reason why this island has been so, effectively there for so long, for tens of thousands of years, is probably because this just happens when storms happen. It's just positioned in such a way where storms and tsunamis tend to push sand up onto the shore and create a shoal instead of wipe the island off the face of the earth. That's cool. That's good to know.
Sent to the island to assess the native situation confirmed they seemed to be alive and well, as demonstrated by the iconic photograph taken from above, showing a lone Sentinelese warrior aiming to shoot at the helicopter with his bow and arrow. In early 2006, two Indian fishermen, Sundar Raj and Pandit Tiwari, illegally poaching, unexpectedly found themselves on the shores of North Sentinel Island after their boat had drifted toward the island overnight. Other fishermen in separate boats who witnessed the two fishermen's unfortunate encounter with the Sentinelese from afar claimed
They were drunk.
That they were drunk on palm wine, and their defense proved to be futile against the spears of the Sentinelese. The fishermen were killed, and their boat was confiscated by the islanders. Their bodies were then shallowly buried in the sand. The first recorded outside.
Yep. It's 100% their way of quarantining. I guarantee you that after those children were brought back, they figured out germ theory. Probably around that point in history, and that is their way of quarantining biohazards, is by burying it in the sand. And they don't burn it, which tells you they know that, like, some level of danger can be brought by burning things that have diseases in them, because that can particularize. Like, they would have to understand some level of germ theory to not opt for burning it, because, like, intuitively you would burn something that you thought was, like, bad. You'd destroy it, right? But I think they know that's, like, not practical and not a good idea, and so they bury it instead and just quarantine it. It would be more dangerous to take it to a fire, yeah. So they definitely know germ theory. That's cool. Not germ theory? I bet they know germ theory. I bet they figured it. I would bet my left nut that they have figured out germ theory. All on their own, independently. And that's a lot of extrapolation? No, I totally bet they have, though. Like, do you really think that they're like, guys, I get they don't have, like, advanced technology, but they've lived on that island for tens of thousands of years. They have the ability to pass down generational knowledge, even though they don't have the resources necessarily on their own to be able to advance up the tech tree that much. There's a certain point where I think they've got scientists. They've got, like, smart people who are, like, researching shit in some way and figuring stuff out. I bet they've figured out some level of germ theory. I bet they know how how diseases transmit. I bet they've figured out quarantines and dealing with diseased bodies. They've had to have figured that stuff out to still be around.
Outsider casualties in 110 years. An Indian Coast Guard helicopter soon traveled to the island to judge whether a body retrieval was possible. It was attacked by the Sentinelese with flying rocks and arrows, but the rotating blades of the low-flying helicopter helped clear some sand off the two graves, which revealed their mangled bodies. The killings brought great conflict and controversy to the authorities of Port Blair, as they were pushed by the relatives of Sundar Raj to pursue justice and provide the bereaved family with compensation. However, the public at large, with the added encouragement of international preservation groups, wanted the Sentinelese to be left alone, for even though the island belonged to India, its people did not obey, nor would even understand the country's laws and ideals. The authorities reasoned
they know
that the islanders
there's something that comes from what they would understand to be a diseased thing.
Did not murder the fishermen unprovoked, but were rather defending their sacred home from seeming invaders. Pandit Tiwari's father agreed that the Sentinelese were simply protecting their homeland
racist,
and that his son was justly punished for illegally poaching and trespassing. Tribal Peoples Support Organization, Survival International.
Wait, that's based. Yeah, no, that was their punishment for illegal trespassing and poaching. Based.
National stated that though the killings were tragic, they occurred because of poor law enforcement, as the Coast Guard should have prevented poachers from getting within the designated perimeter of the island and risk bringing to the Sentinelese diseases which could wipe out their entire population. In 2018, the
fucking based that India is taking this so seriously. Actually based that India actually really gives a fuck about people going to this island and messing with the Sentinelese, and they are actually heavily enforcing the no contact policy. Like, that is based as fuck of India. Like, unironically.
island received its greatest international media exposure yet. John Allen Chau, an American missionary trained by the evangelical organization All Nations, set out to spread the word.
Oh, I remember this story. This is a more recent story. This is, most of you who've heard about North Sentinel Island heard about it because of this story. The Christian missionary. Hold on. Allow me to, pack watch.
Of Christianity to the Sentinelese. After taking part in trips to South Africa, Mexico, and Kurdistan. He settled in a Port Blair safe house in preparation for attempting to introduce to the islanders the good word of the Lord in the interest of their eternal lives,
The good
for he
word
felt
of the
that the
Lord.
island was Satan's last stronghold. Chau had trained with all nations for such an encounter.
I'm so glad. In Minecraft, never mind. Listen, Karma. All I'm saying is, some stories have poetic justice endings, okay? Someone who calls that island the last bastion of Satan dying. Spoiler alert, yeah, he fucking dies. They kill him. Ah, so happy. Such a poetically just ending.
Wherein other missionaries roleplayed as hostile natives in a mock village, wielding fake spears. He even acknowledged the possibility that he may be killed for his efforts, but wrote in his diary that God should not be angry at the islanders if they did so. In November 2018, Chau launched his first trip to North Sentinel Island with the help of some Christian fishermen who he paid over $300 to illegally take him within around 2,000 feet from the shore.
Fucking insane that is how cheap it is to get smuggled on that island.
Despite warnings from the fishermen, Chau elected to get even closer by himself in a kayak, dressed only in his underwear, believing that it might make the islanders feel more at ease.
Christianity's a death cult.
Armed with little more than a waterproof Bible, he initiated communications with the islanders who came out.
You see, if he'd brought this Bible, I think they would have accepted him, frankly. I think they would have recognized I think Real would have recognized Real. And I think it would have been all good if they had brought this Bible. I plan to buy the entire collection of Minecraft Bibles. Like the Bibles, but told like it's Minecraft and Minecraft illustration. I plan to have a whole shelf of like Minecraft-themed Christian propaganda for the meme. I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait. It goes so fucking hard, dude.
To observe the incoming encroacher. Chau soon paddled back to safety after feeling threatened by their aggressive language of the body and tongue. During his next trip, he managed to set foot on the island and placed gifts such as scissors, safety pins, a football, and some fish on the sand.
Oh yeah, there's also the Minecraft Quran too. I need all of them.
The islanders came out, aggressively hollering, and Chau attempted to shout back at them the indiscernible words that they were yelling. His repetition of what was likely to have been insults directed at himself drew a laugh from the Sentinelese. He then tried singing Christian songs for them, preached some passages from the Bible, and attempted to communicate by speaking Xhosa, one of the main languages of South Africa. The Sentinelese seemingly did not understand, and instead responded with stark silence, tolerating his presence. After a short while, a Sentinelese boy of about 10 years old fired an iron-tipped arrow at Chau, which penetrated the Bible he was holding at his chest. He pulled out
They lured him in and entertained his bullshit so that the little kid could line up his shot. They're like, okay, this is gonna be like shooting fish in a barrel, buddy. All right, we're gonna get him nice and distracted, get him talking about his stupid Christian bullshit, and then you go ahead and loose your arrow right into his heart, okay? You should do it when he puts the Bible up to his chest. That'd be funny as fuck.
the arrow and gave it back to the boy while shouting at him, and then made a speedy retreat. The islanders had commandeered his kayak, so he was forced to swim back to the fishing boat, waiting about a mile away.
Oh, he didn't die this time.
He
dies,
day,
but...
Chau privately wrote that he was scared for his life, crying as he looked out at the day's sunset, wondering if that may be the last sunset he would ever see. Even though he confessed people have called him crazy for doing this, he believed that declaring Jesus to the inhabitants of North Sentinel Island was worth it, even if it meant losing his own life. He asked God to forgive the natives if they were to kill him, but confessed that he did not want to die. On November 16th, he set out for the island one final time, telling the fishermen to leave the area in the hopes that the absence of the boat would make the islanders feel more open, and in the worst case, the fishermen would be spared from witnessing his death. A short while later, they spotted the Sentinelese dragging Chau's dead body along the shore where they buried him.
It was a second visit. The Bible unironically saved his life by catching the arrow from hitting his heart. And then he came back there a second time. If God's real, that was God punishing him for going there a second time like a dumbass. Like, God was like, I'll give you one freebie, but if you come back here again, you're on your own, buddy. Cut to corpse being dragged into the sand.
Upon returning to Port Blair, John Allen Chau's diary and letters were handed over by the fisherman to one of his close friends and reported the killing to the authorities. 6 fishermen were arrested, along with Chau's friend, and in cooperation with the Indian Coast Guard, the fishermen led authorities to the general location where they believed the body was buried.
People get punished for going there and surviving.
The Coast Guard attempted
so, if you go there and survive, you will be punished by the Indian government, which is based as fuck.
To retrieve Chau's body.
Also, look at those arrows. God damn. They've got long arrows with, really well-made tips that are on, back slings. Slings over their waist, the back of their waist. And they carry what it's 3 or 4 at a time, it seems. It's so cool. I don't know. I really appreciate that kind of way of carrying around arrows. It's cool, and it seems really practical. To just pull a arrow out of the loop from the back of your belt and prime it. I just think it looks cool.
But tensions quickly...
And they're massive fucking arrows. They're almost as long as he is.
...escalated between them and the Sentinelese, so the Coast Guard retreated before anyone was harmed. Chau's body remained on the island.
Wait, yeah, you're completely right, Apillo. Whatever they're shooting with those things must be big. They must have deer or boar or something on that island that they're taking down, because those arrows aren't made for people. Fish? Oh, they could be. Yeah, they're for fishing. You want a long arrow for piercing into the water to get at fish, so it's probably for shooting fish. That makes sense. Yeah, they're hunting. They're fishing bows. You're completely right.
Survival International stated that any attempt to bring back Chau's body should not be considered, as it may bring to the islanders great harm in the form of diseases, and also had the chance of escalating to a point that the Sentinelese would feel they would have to defend themselves by harming or killing members of the Coast Guard. A murder case was registered, but was deemed impossible to close given the nature of the perpetrators.
I love this shot of him hitting the gritty. It's so good.
John Chau's parents did not blame the Sentinelese for his death, and instead...
One thing I do wonder is, how many people do they think there are in the world, or that exist? Do you think they could conceive of the idea that they are currently a viral topic on the internet that tens of millions of people are actively, hyper-fixated on? That's got to be an insane revelation introduced to any person.
Laid the blame on evangelical culture and the All Nations Missionary Organization, whose public opinion was that John was a martyr who died out of love for God.
They could they definitely could consider the evil outsiders are obsessed with them. That makes sense. But the idea that there's billions of people. I need you to understand the idea of only ever having seen maybe 200 other people in your life. And then, conceiving of there being billions of people in existence out there in the world. That would be horrifying to me. It'd be like if we found out that there were trillions of aliens out there. And they all had varying positions on our right to exist.
It stated that John Chau was foolish to have gone to the island and paid the most steep price. He detailed that an eventual retrieval of the body was possible, though it would take some time and involve constant surveillance of the island at close distances. Ultimately, His body, and those of the 2 fishermen killed years before, likely still remain on North Sentinel Island. Combating mainstream media's stance of a violent Stone Age tribe, Pandit argued that the Sentinelese were in general a peace-loving people, and that anyone attempting—
Do not slander the Sentinelese. They are Steel Age. They've got steel from the shipwrecks that they've scavenged. They are using steel tools, and they are cold forging. That makes them Steel Age. Fuck you.
to make contact were the true aggressors.
The government, if it is possible, they should devise the ways and means, police, etc., without causing any violence on either side. If it is not possible, let it be. More violence cannot be generated on this.
For those that don't know what cold forging is, it's when you take a piece of metal and you hit it with like, it could be another piece of metal. They're probably using like solid rocks, and you hammer it out like you would with hot metal. It's a lot harder, but it can still be done with enough time and precision, and you can sharpen out and you know, dent in you can dent a piece of metal into a really good arrow tip, just a piece of scrap metal, and that's what they're doing. It's cold forging.
Incident. We are a highly privileged nation to have such people living in our country, and we should not take any measures to harm their interests.
The islanders only defended their homeland from outside influence and threat, which seemed to be a wise policy. Considering the conditions of the neighboring tribes, it appears that the Sentinelese may actually be living in a better state. During the tsunami of 2004,
you look at literally every other tribe in that like part of the world, and they're all fucked right now by contact. Leaving them alone is the best thing we can possibly do. They have lived in perfect equilibrium with their like fucking area on that island for tens of thousands of years. Leave them the fuck alone. We need to go full Star Trek, all right? We need to go full Star Trek, and Picard needs to be there like, no! We cannot interfere with the evolution of this society. It is against the Prime Directive.
Onga saw the recession in the waters of the coast and made a quick retreat further inland. Their purpose-built housing was destroyed by the oncoming waves, but as a consequence, they ended up re-establishing a more traditional hunter-gatherer lifestyle in the forest, though the influence of the modern world continues to leave its damaging mark on them. Their population has greatly declined due to the introduction of a modern diet, and many tribespeople developed.
I swear I didn't pre-watch this, but isn't it fucking hilarious how I talked about how dependent humans are on a certain, like, useness to a diet, and when you take a group of people who have survived on hunting and gathering for tens of thousands of years and then force them to live on a modern diet, on, like, take away their hunting grounds, and then, like, take away their ability to deal with, like waste and other things that they've done for tens of thousands of years on their own completely fine, and force them into modern housing without, like, any of the modern luxuries and amenities that you need to make that work.
Developed damaging cravings for tobacco and alcohol. In 2008,
and they got introduced to drugs and alcohol too by the people that were touring through the highway.
A group of Onga found a crate washed ashore that contained what they thought was alcohol, and so drank it. The liquid was identified by some as having been methanol, and as a result, 8 Onga men died, and the first.
Wasn't that what was done to poison bootleggers? During, Prohibition? Didn't they increase the methanol content in the liquor? Or was it it was the methanol content. Yeah, so they increased, it was just straight up raw methanol. Yeah, fuck. That's horrific. That was like super duper death moonshine.
Further 15 were hospitalized. For a people with a population of only 100, this event was a catastrophe. The Jarwas, even though their reserve is being protected by the Indian...
For those that don't know, when you drink alcohol, what you're actually drinking, like the good part that doesn't make you, like, die or whatever, well, it will make you die, but, you know, slow, is actually ethanol. The ethanol is the alcohol that you're drinking, But when you distill liquors, let's say you're making brandy, for example, like a very, very strong brandy, you would take some wine and you would condense it, you would distill it by evaporating out the water and whatnot, and reducing it down to a much more condensed state. And what you have to do then is cut off the head of the of what comes out of that, because the head, what sinks to the bottom, is almost pure methanol, and you have to get rid of the methanol. The thing that makes moonshiners go blind and get alcohol poisoning is the methanol that they don't cut the head off of properly when they're brewing their condensed alcohol. There's also the tail at the end. And as Ollie with AB just said, the middle is what you have to get. So moonshiners and people who are not good at making alcohol will sometimes not cut off the head and tail properly and end up having poisonous, blinding, the devil's cut, blinding, gut eviscerating methanol-filled alcohol.
Military are constantly being exploited by poachers who hunt the wild boar that they depend on, by the Indian police who introduce them to tobacco and alcohol, teach them how to beg tourists for food, who have also been found prompting Jarawa women and children to dance in return for food, and organizing human safaris for their family members, and by the tourists who have been coming in large tour groups to observe.
Dude, this is arguably like a worse situation than like Epstein's Island. What the fuck? What kind of weird pedo tourism shit is this? What the fuck? This is nightmare fuel. Oh my god. Dude, that is fucked.
In close proximity what they perceive as primitive humans. Despite not having any access to contemporary housing, nutrition, or healthcare, the small community of around 50 to 100 Sentinelese appear to be healthy, strong, and wisely determined to keep the outside world away and maintain the sanctity of their secretive, idyllic.
This is modern day. No, this is a consistent issue. What he's talking about right now, it's not that was a thing like 60 years ago. No, he's talking about this current state of these tribes. Obviously, the Sentinelese are uncontacted and just doing their own thing right now, but there are other tribes in that area of the Indian Ocean that have not had as fortunate of an experience with the outside world.
And unique island paradise.
That is fucking crazy, dude. This was a fantastic video. I think it could have handled some other topics better. I think he definitely could have talked about the very obvious rapes and sexual assaults that the British were doing on the Andamanese that were, like, being colonized. That was very obviously happening, the enslavement and whatnot. He seemed to whitewash and smooth over that a little bit. But overall, this is a very informative and good documentary, and I think it was well worth the watch, even for the 1 hour and 45-minute time this ended up taking. Although Cherry does have a good amount of stun locking to cut out, so it might, cut down the runtime of the video a fair amount. Gino Samuel comes off as a bit of an enlightened centrist a lot, in my opinion. Yeah, but he makes good videos, so I can't really give him too much shit. But overall, fantastic video. I will be linking this as the top comment in the description of this video. You should really go send some support. Gino Samuel's channel is criminally small for how popular he is. He has 37,000 subscribers on this channel, which is his third channel, to be fair. But still, it's crazy that his channel's, like, so small, and this video has, like, so many views. But, like, I don't know. It's crazy because, like, this is a criminally underrated channel. Regardless, go send some support, and just acknowledge yourself, enlighten your brain holes. Thank you. That was a good segment, I think. What do you guys think of it? Yeah, do you still want to call after stream? My mom's visiting right now, and I can't guarantee that I'll be free to just sit at the computer and call right after stream, but tomorrow I'll definitely be free to do that. Also, tomorrow is the set start for my 2-week-long tropical vacation themed Tropicraft server that you guys are going to be able to join. I'm going to have other YouTubers there and everything. Ethan and I will be making the server for that tonight, the Discord server. God, I can't stop burping. And you guys will be able to apply through that to get into the main part of the server, get your name written down for the whitelist, and it'll be really easy to join. It'll take 5 minutes to set up and get on, so yeah. I thought for a sec you were going to say 2-week tropical vacation. Well, I wish I was going on that vacation, but I'm doing it in Minecraft. I'll be there. Just got a mic arm too. Hell yeah, Pillow. I hope you're able to put a lot more time into it than you were last year, because, or with the like 12 Days of Christmas thing last year, because I feel like you didn't get to play as much as would have been ideal. You gotta stream your end too. God, my eye's all like itchy. You gotta stream your end too, Apillo. That'd be dope. I want to see more people's perspective of the event. That'd been really neat. It was cool getting to see Vosh's perspective of my 12 Days of Christmas server, because it was like, it was just so cozy and nice. It was a cool vibe. People seem to really enjoy watching Vosh's streams on my Christmas server, so I'm gonna see if I can bully Vosh into joining the Tropicraft one too and doing a couple streams on there, because people really like when he plays Minecraft. He bitches and complains about it because he hates Minecraft for all the wrong reasons, by the way. But everybody who watches him loves watching him play Minecraft, so we gotta get him on that shit. He secretly likes it. Dude, unironically, Vosh should be at 500,000 subs by now if he played Minecraft more often. I'm not even joking. If Vosh did like a yearly Minecraft charity stream, like he did that one time, he would be at 500k plus subs by now. 100%, I guarantee it. Oh shit, I just hit 3.9k. Let's go, Apillo! Hell yeah, everybody go sub to Apillo, by the way. Apillo's like 100 subs away from 4k. Wait, hold on, let me go to Apillo's channel. Let's just get Apillo to 4k subs real quick. Everyone, go sub to Apillo if you haven't already. And if you think you maybe have already subbed to Apillo, go check. Go sub. I am actively watching this sub count live. If you don't sub, I'll know that you didn't, and I will find you. And I will kill you. In Minecraft, in Hytale, in CSGO. In Final Fantasy XIV PvP. I'm refreshing. I want to see it. Oh, it's 3.91k. All right, we're 90 away. We're 90 subs away from getting Apillo to 4k. Come on, we can do this. Oh, 92k. Hell yeah. All right, 80 away. Come on, let's get it to 9.3. Every sub counts. 9.3. Let's get it to 9.4. Apillo makes great lefty content. Apillo is an up-and-coming lefty streamer. It is good to get subbed early on, okay? I promise you. 3.94. Come on, let's get Apillo to 4K. Live on stream. This would go so hard. Here, I'll show screen. Come on. Come on, I want to see it hit 9.5 next time I hit refresh. If it hasn't hit 9.5 next time I hit refresh, I'm gonna be mad. Come on. I know there's at least 100 of you here who have not subbed to Apillo. Hell yeah, come on. I know there's at least 100 of you here who haven't a sub to Apillo. Let's change that. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. It's creeping on up. It's creeping on up, yes! 30 away. 30 more subs away. This is one of my favorite things to do as a YouTuber. I'm not gonna lie. I can't wait till I've got like tens of thousands of viewers one day and I can do this and like literally boost channels to like monetizability and being partnered in like one fell swoop. I'm so, like, this is one of my favorite things to do. Come on, 20 more. 20 more. Everyone counts. Come on, guys. $20 more. Hold on, I should look at something far away for a minute to focus my eyes. My mom gave me that advice, and I think it's actually going to be pretty helpful. I got this advice from my mom that apparently, if you look at screens a lot for a living, you should try to look at something roughly 20 feet or more away for some period of time to focus your eyes on it. Like, the longer the better, and then come back to the computer, and it'll make your eyes not glaze over when you're reading text. I've been having that problem lately since I got COVID, and it's helped her a lot, and unironically, my eyes are actually starting to focus in a lot better now that I'm, like, focusing on something on the other side of my room. I'm focusing on that light switch. And I'm blinking a lot. It helps a lot. Holy shit. Wow, that really does help. God damn. We did it! We did it! Welcome to the 4K plus sub YouTuber gang. The pillow. Welcome. That is impressive. Can we get much higher? So high. That's awesome. That is really cool. Good job, Apillo. I'm proud of you. Alright, let's read some donos. Thank you, chat. That was some good shit. Cherry T21, thank you for the 5 tier 1 gifted subs. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the $25. It really does go a long way, and it really means a lot to me. Remember, guys, if you're enjoying the stream and you want to help me out and you want to support me, help me afford groceries and rent and the ability to move and, you know, earn yourself me wearing a onesie for the whole stream, then consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website. But if you don't have money and you want to do so, like, just support me for completely free, you can always hit the thumbs up button over on YouTube. Hitting that like button forces YouTube to push my content in the algorithm, and it really does help. Also, just overall, you should like the content. Like, if you enjoy a YouTuber's content and you want to support them, and it's even if it's not me, you should make a habit of hitting the like button at the start of every single one of their videos as like a muscle habit. I do that. Like, if I click on one of my friends' videos or any YouTuber that I enjoy's YouTube video, before I even watch it, my just hand just flicks that like button, because I support them, you know? I know that every like counts. As a YouTuber, I know how much every single like counts. So I do that. It's nice. I started liking videos way more often because of you, Zan. Yes, even with other YouTubers, I want to encourage that you guys do this. It makes you a productive member of YouTube society. Thinking that your like doesn't count when watching like a YouTuber you enjoy is a really toxic mindset, because that like does mean a lot, and it is one click that is completely free that could really mean the difference between your favorite YouTuber's channel falling off or blowing up that month, you know? And I'm not blaming anyone who doesn't hit the like button, because, you know, there's a lot of scenarios where it's just not practical, right? Like, maybe you're just listening to, like, a podcast on your phone while taking a walk, or you're at work, or doing dishes, something like that. But if you're, like, sitting and watching YouTube videos and you've got the mouse in your hand, you should make a habit of liking your favorite content creators' content. It's a good habit. I do it. I practice what I preach here. People be withholding likes as if they're going out of stock one day. Yeah, you don't have a limited amount of likes you can give on your channel or anything like that. Like, you can just like as much as you want, and it's just an infinite amount of benefit to the person whose channel you drop the like on. It's good. Unless I'm listening, I try to remember to like. Thank you. I really do appreciate that, guys. Oh, my nose is itching. Cherry T21 included a video link. What is this shit? What is this meme shit? Oh my god. Let me know if this is some copyrighted anime OP. Okay, chat, I will say, one of the craziest plot twists ever is my mom agreeing to watch Attack on Titan with me, and the fact that we are now in Season 4. We took a long break because she hasn't visited in a while, but we're going to be resuming Attack on Titan with the beginning of Season 4 in, like, the next day or two. She's never watched anime before. I mean, I think she's probably watched, like, Sailor Moon and some, like, weird, obscure 90s anime or something, but nothing on, like, the tier of Attack on Titan. The finale of Attack on Titan is coming this fall. Yeah, but I don't know if my mom can handle, like, I feel like we're, like, watching it with my mom's gonna have to wait a few months after it drops for them to drop the dub, you know? We're watching the dub, obviously, because, you know, I'm a based and red-pilled dub enjoyer. I love sub enjoyers unironically saying mute it as a response to me saying I'll wait for the dub. Holy shit. Yeah, mute it. Don't hear any of the literally fucking top tier music Attack on Titan is famous for, or the sound effects, or any of the punch or hit that comes with it. Just mute it. I don't mind watching the sub. It's that, like, if I'm gonna watch... No, it's copyright? Okay, I'm gonna mute it. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're talking about this. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking... Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm such an idiot. I'm so stupid. I'm so sorry I blew up at you. I thought you were talking about what I should do with Attack on Titan and not that this is copyrighted and I should mute it. Thank you for telling me. I'm sorry. You are a hero and not to be ridiculed. I am so sorry. I'm a monster. And Cherry T21, you have once again sent me a meme video that could get me in trouble a second day in a row. I appreciate your very large donations, but you gotta be more careful with what you send me, because sometimes it feels like you're just trying to get me banned. Or get my stream shut down. Beta Leafy, thank you for the $5. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Very based and pog of you. Said, volume warning, and then a link.
Yeah, what's up, guys? So today we're gonna be talking about the fucking banana prices, because it's just been going too crazy, man. It's just been going too crazy, and honestly, I just want a banana. I just want a fucking banana. I don't care about the price, guys. I just want to know about the bananas.
Okay, thank you, Beta Leafy. I really appreciate the $5. I'm not going to comment on that video, but I'm glad that you know it exists for some reason. Beta Leafy with another $5. Thank you so much. Said, my name is a Swiss name, and Nazis at my school bullied me because of something to do with Switzerland having Nazi gold. Oh yeah, Switzerland did have a lot of Nazi gold, but you should respond with, how about I dissolve you in acid and to hide you. I don't know, like, come up with a joke about killing them and dissolving them in acid. If they're making jokes about you being Swiss and having gold. Because that's what they did to save the gold when the Nazis invaded. They dissolved it in, they turned it into Aqua Regia to transport it. So just make a joke about dissolving them in acid, like it's Breaking Bad. That's a good comeback, I'd say. Yeah, science! Yeah, Mr. White! Thank you, Beta Leafy. I appreciate it. Let me update the dono goal really fast, and then we can move on to our next segment. Oh, Slashy, thank you for the $3 donation. I didn't notice this one. I appreciate it. Said, asked Vosh this and now you. Would it be good political strategy for the executive branch to offer a Trump pardon in exchange for massive legislation, i.e. lowering the age of Medicare, Green New Deal? It would push a schism in the Republican Party. So there are a lot of potential outcomes where that could definitely be good, but unfortunately, realistically, the biggest and most prime concern that we should have at the forefront of our minds is stopping the Republicans. So with Trump being the most likely person to keep the Republicans relevant in the long term, since he has an uncanny ability to speak to the natural stupidity of those that are susceptible to Republican and conservative brainwashing, I think that making Trump a convict is the best case scenario for defeating the Republican Party in the long term. It will cause Trump supporters to go full violently, belligerently crazy. They will show their full ass, and the Republican Party will be forced to either keep towing that same line to keep those crazies happy, or neglect them and abandon them and thus lose their most fervent supporters. I think that schism will occur with Trump in prison, and taking Trump's ability to become president away is also very good. If we can get him in prison for any amount of time, he can't be president, presumably, like realistically, and you know, he's pretty close to just, you know, going out on his own. You know, like he's pretty old and fat, realistically. So like, he doesn't have much time left. He's Donald Trump is in the last 10% of the YouTube video watch length in regards to his lifespan, okay? Like, if you look at him with the Shinigami eyes, you'd be like, whoa, okay, buddy. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not you. So yeah, I think that getting Trump in prison's a good choice. Cherry T21, thank you for the $5. I really appreciate that. Very based and pog of you. Said, sorry, here's something I think shouldn't be copyrighted. It's a skit.
Hey, Mr. Beast, if you want to use it...
What is this? I have a skit I want to show you guys that goes hard as fuck.
These just, just give me a call. The last person to take their hands off my body gets to keep it. These 100 kids and their 100 parents are going to recreate the Vietnam War. I told myself 100 times, and now I'm going to myself. I killed 1 billion of my brain cells, and I'm going to name all 50 splates. Cramblambla, Snart, Afghanistan. I hit a golden ticket somewhere inside this boy. Today I asked 100 professional fighters to please chew with their mouth closed. Today I'm donating hundreds of legs to this preschool. In this video, I used a Ouija board to make contact with Harambe. Today I restored sight to 1,000 people who don't see race. Today I'm going to be donating $1 million to this tree. Today I'm tossing 100 virgins into this volcano to ensure a good harvest this year. Today I treated 100 dogs with PTSD to the largest firework display money can buy. Hi, I'm Mr. Beast, and I saw the biggest fire truck yesterday. To celebrate passing 20 million subscribers, I planted 20 million trees in Suicide Forest. For every like this video gets, I have to live another year. I brought Tupac and Biggie back to life, and they're gonna be my new...
That would be such a fucking meme response, would just be an image of a sapling being planted. And it's just captioned, "Here, I planted a tree in the Japanese suicide forest for you." That would go so fucking hard as an insult.
New mom and dad. Today I'm playing Scrabble with this old lady until she dies. In this video, I give 10,000 young children something to cry about. In today's video, I'm surviving 100 hours on the toilet that killed Elvis Presley. I genetically modified this field of corn to feel pain. These 100 children think they're going to...
Bro, if I could do one thing, it would be to go back in time and tell Elvis Presley to drink more water. No, not really. Elvis Presley was like, wasn't he like a dick who kind of like stole his musical like theory from like black blues musicians? Like jazz and blues? He died of dehydration. He was a pedophile. Really? Jesus. Yeah, he was a piece of shit. I love that, like, being a lefty also entails finding out that all of these, like, oh, he married a 14-year-old? Oh, I'm glad he died in such a horrific way. Wow. I always love when, like, being a lefty entails having to learn the most, like, cognito hazard shit about, like, beloved famous people in history. It's just like, oh, wow, that person who you're, like, taught to look up to your entire life is a piece of shit.
Space to play in zero gravity. Little do they know, they're going to Mars and they are not coming back. In today's video, I try to f*** a penguin. I'm dead inside.
That is fucking hilarious. That was pretty good. Okay, who sent that? Cherry T21? I forgive you. I now forgive you for that awful, awful fucking video that you sent me the other day where it ended up screaming the N-word, and the video that was copyrighted today. He also is given some kind of unofficial badge, and he used it to strong-arm people who stole from him. Jesus. Never was a fan of Elvis, but I'm glad I never got into him after hearing he groomed a 14-year-old. Get fucked, bozo. True! All right. You guys ready for the next topic? Are you banned on Twitch? What? Why would I be banned on Twitch? Why? What? I don't think I'm banned on Twitch. Let me check. No, it says I'm live on Twitch. Yeah, it seems fine on over there. Yeah, no, I'm just memed on Twitter. From the N-word thing? No, I didn't get in trouble for that because I clearly didn't endorse it. But, like, if... Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, whether or not you get banned for, like, a slur being played on your stream depends on whether or not it was, like, truly your fault, you know? If just you click a video that you think's gonna be an innocent meme, you can't really, like, be expected to have known. I hate when my mouse I don't know if this happens to you guys too. My mouse will sometimes like glitch over to the side right as I'm about to click, and it does that when I'm clicking programs on my like little bottom bar on my Windows, and I'll keep opening Minecraft on accident when I mean to open up my my browser. Yeah, it's so annoying. Yeah, I fucking hate that shit. I don't know what's causing that mouse, like, lag stutter, but it's like a Minecraft, rubber banding thing. Yeah, it's my computer making me try to open Minecraft. Jesus. Anyway, let me update the dono goal really fast. $56 dues. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the support. Now it's time to talk about some heavy shit. You all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1... Action. This story was unfortunately inevitable. Massive trigger warning for a lot of things going into this story, but what you're about to hear is going to be extremely upsetting, but I think it's important that you guys know it. Before I tell you the story behind this photo, I want to show you the photo. This is an 18-year-old woman being sentenced to a crime that she has been found guilty for. 90 days in jail she has been sentenced to for a crime, quote-unquote, she committed at 17 years old. That crime being taking abortion pills. Nebraska woman charged with disposing of fetus following illegal abortion sentenced to 90 days in jail. This is literally news from a couple days ago. A woman accused of having an illegal abortion in Nebraska when she was 17 and disposing of the fetus was sentenced Thursday to 90 days in jail following a plea agreement. She had to take a plea deal. They were trying to, like, really put her away for a long time. They were trying her as an adult for murder. Celeste Burgess, 19, of Norfolk, had entered a guilty plea in May to a felony charge of removing, concealing, or abandoning a dead human body. Misdemeanor charges of false reporting and concealing a death were dismissed under the agreement, according to documents filed in District Court, Nebraska's Madison County. In addition to the jail term, Burgess was sentenced to serve 2 years of probation. Norfolk police, so she's also a felon now. Her life's ruined. Norfolk police began investigating Celeste Burgess and her mother, Jessica Burgess, in late April 2022 following concerns Celeste had delivered a stillborn fetus, according to court documents. They found out, they were like, yes, we investigated her under the concern that she may have delivered a stillborn fetus. Authorities used Facebook messages between Celeste and Jessica Burgess to establish that the two discussed obtaining abortion pills and burning the quote-unquote evidence court documents showed. This is because in Nebraska, abortion is illegal, and they also have a system for ratting out people who get illegal abortions. So they were investigated by the police after being ratted out by boomer conservatives on Facebook that must have known the family. Police claim the body of the fetus, which was exhumed, appeared to have injuries indicating it may have been burned after the pregnancy was terminated, according to court documents. Celeste Burgess initially told investigators the fetus was delivered stillborn, according to an affidavit in support of a search warrant. Authorities allege Celeste Burgess had a medication abortion, and that it violated the state's prohibition of abortion after 20 weeks. Celeste Burgess was around 28 weeks pregnant when her pregnancy ended, court documents allege. Earlier this year, Nebraska's governor signed a bill into law that bans most abortions in the state after 12 weeks, with exceptions for sexual assault, incest, and medical emergencies. Jessica Burgess, 42, was charged with the same offenses as her daughter, plus a felony count of performing an abortion beyond 20 weeks and a felony count of performing an abortion as someone other than a licensed physician. In a plea bargain earlier this month, Jessica Burgess pleaded guilty to 2 felonies: removing, concealing, or abandoning a dead human body, and performing an abortion beyond 20 weeks, and the misdemeanor charge of false reporting. The other charges against Jessica Burgess, the felony count of performing an abortion while not being a physician, and the misdemeanor count of concealing the death of another person, were dismissed. Jessica Burgess's attorney requested a physiological examination of her client. She is scheduled to be sentenced September 22nd. CNN sought comment Wednesday from prosecutors and attorneys for Celeste and Jessica Burgess, and they did not respond. Yeah, so she was 17 years old in a state where abortion was a crime. She took abortion pills to basically induce a stillbirth, to induce a miscarriage. And, you know, the fact that this is a crime, that what she has done, the 17-year-old child terminating this pregnancy instead of having to be, like, forced to do this, like, instead of being forced with the pregnancy. It's forced pregnancy if she's not allowed to terminate the pregnancy. So she had to conceal the body of this fetus like it was a corpse of someone she'd murdered or she would be tried. And I guess some Facebook boomers that knew the family, like, realized, oh, wait, she's not pregnant anymore, and reported her to the police, and she was investigated, and now her life is ruined because a 17-year-old girl who was, from what I'm hearing, raped. I am hearing that she was raped, and that's why she got pregnant, but this article implies that there are exceptions in this law for if you were raped. So, let me see. Let me look deeper into the story, guys. Let's confirm this or deny it. Like, what would I search? Celeste Burgess, Nebraska. Let's see if anything else comes up. This is from Rolling Stone. Okay, this has some more updated stuff. Hold on. No! What is this ad? Wait, how do I get rid of this ad? Oh my god, wait. Oh, there it is. There's the X. Nebraska currently bans abortions at 12 weeks gestation. At the time, in April 2022, Nebraska law prohibited abortions after 20 weeks. Telemedicine abortions are also prohibited by Nebraska law. The FDA has approved mifepristone and misoprostol to end pregnancies up to 10 weeks. According to messages that Facebook's parent company Meta turned over to police in Nebraska, the teenager spoke about being anxious to end the pregnancy and worried about evidence of her illegal abortion being discovered. Burgess admitted to police that she miscarried after taking the pills. And with help of her mother and a third person, burned and buried the remains. At the sentencing hearing on Thursday, Burgess told the judge that her family would not have been able to afford a proper cremation or burial financial-wise. Listen, when it comes to the laws around abortion, here's how I think it should go. based on maximizing practicality and freedom. Abortion should be absolutely legal and readily accessible to anybody who is pregnant up until the point where the fetus inside the body is viable on its own, at which point we already just do induced birth. An abortion should be completely legal and viable and allowed up until the point of where they wouldn't do an abortion anymore, they would just induce birth. Because that point, it would be more dangerous otherwise, and that's a viable fetus. So, yeah. Essentially, since she miscarried a non-viable fetus, she was clearly not capable, like, it was not long enough into the pregnancy to be viable. Trying to say, no, you don't get to abort this baby, you have to carry it to term, is state-enforced forced birth, and they are now punishing her for, at 17 years old, not agreeing to use her body as a baby mill. And most doctors won't perform late-term abortions unless there's a serious medical reason for doing so, because it's significantly more dangerous? Of course, yeah. The fact that this kid has to go through this is insane to me. She's the age of my swimmers. Yeah. No, she's 19 years old now, but she was 17 years old when she went through this and terminated the pregnancy. I wanted to do the right thing, but I didn't know if that was, if what I was doing at the time was the right thing, the 19-year-old said. I do regret my decisions very much. In addition to 90 days in jail, she had faced up to 2 years. Celeste Burgess was sentenced to 2 years probation. Jessica Burgess has pleaded guilty to 3 charges, providing an abortion after 20... Well, yeah, we already read this in the different article. There was something about her being sexually assaulted. Maybe that's false. I don't know. If anybody has a source confirming that she claims she was sexually assaulted and that is how she became pregnant, then that would be very handy, because that would add so much more horror to this story. The state enforcing rape-induced pregnancies. Jesus fucking Christ. Is she being tried as an adult? Yeah, she was tried as an adult. Yeah, she was 17 years old, and they specifically tried her as an adult. Yeah. That was the really weird part of this, even for the state of Nebraska, is that they went as hard as to try a 17-year-old as an adult for this. So yeah, it's pretty fucked up. Not very cash money of them, if you will. This is why I've been talking so much lately about the Republicans' burning desire to ban abortion and access to contraception. They truly want to take every bit of agency away from women in regards to sexual freedom. We're really looking at a potential tipping point of progress-wise backslide in a lot of these red states, to the point where, like, women may be treated with some extremely different legal rights in red states as compared to blue states. It could get to be quite stark in the near future. And this is genuinely a pretty scary thing to think about, but I think it's important to talk about. I think it's important to cover. I think it's important to learn about, because this stuff can't just go unheard of. This stuff can't be go unprotested. This needs to be heard about far and wide, and there needs to be protests in favor of freeing this young girl, because she does not deserve to be a felon and to serve jail time and probation and to lose her right to vote or own a gun or any other right that you have as an American, because she has now been permanently labeled a felon by the state. This is actually fucking horrific. I hope you guys enjoyed that segment. I feel like it came out pretty good, you know, considering how awful the topic at question was. What do you guys think? Do you think I covered that well? Good segment? I appreciate it, guys. Important but depressing segment indeed, yeah.
Why?
All right. You all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1, action. So, lately I've been talking a lot more about the red pill community, which I think is pretty necessary considering how much they've been poisoning the minds of these young Zoomer teen boys in particular. But, one of the most influential figures who has a very weird love-hate relationship with her audience, Justpearlythings, is someone who I focused, especially lately, a lot more of my attention on. I think she needs to be covered a lot more, especially after the shit she pulled recently. If you're curious to learn more about her, I recommend you look at some of my other videos, that go over what she believes and what she stands for, but I'll give you a brief summary. She is a self-hating woman who does red pill content, talking about how awful women are and how men are actually the best, and she herself is actually, all of these horrible things that she talks about apply to her just as much, and she is actually a traitor to the woman race who is leaking all of these secrets of womandom to men and warning men about how truly duplicitous and evil women are. Basically, that's the gist of her content. She is a through and through grifter, a very awful person, very stupid as well. She recently got blown the fuck out by Ethan Klein in a debate, and it was pretty glorious, but overall, she's kind of losing relevance as of late, which I think is a very good thing, and a symptom of the fact that a lot of people in the demographic this content is aiming for are now aging into 17, 18, 19, which is the age where you start to realize, at least I did and a lot of other people did around the Gamergate era, oh shit, this right-wing propaganda is all garbage. It's all bullshit. So, hopefully this trend continues. But, oh my god, my nose will not stop itching. What the fuck? Recently, and by recently I mean literally 2 days ago, Justpearlythings, aka Hannah Pearl Davis, posted a song onto Twitter that I think might rival that of Colleen Ballinger's horrific musical number about how she is totally not a groomer, guys. Trust her. Anyway, influencer Hannah Pearl Davis drops her new track, Why Can't We Talk About the Jews?, which she dedicates to her favorite white supremacist, Nick Fuentes. Davis has nearly 2 million YouTube subscribers. This is where we're at now. That is true. This is where we're at now. There are unironic open neo-Nazis with millions of subscribers openly spreading Nazi propaganda on YouTube. And meanwhile, if you're a lefty content creator, you have to worry that you might wake up every morning to a ban. Oh shit, what? Oh, it won't play in full screen. Wait, that sucks.
Why
oh, there we go.
Can't we talk
what?
about without getting kicked off of YouTube? Now, I'm not saying Hitler was a good guy, but I kinda wanna know why.
Oh, the tweet's been deleted! That's why! Elon Musk banned this post! Oh my god! What's happening is when I click the video, it stops playing after a few seconds because that tweet that I'm trying to play, which is embedded on Destiny's Reddit, is banned from Twitter now because Elon's Twitter banned them. I don't know if you guys know this, but like Elon's Twitter has been banning lefty accounts that post like any clips of Nazis doing Nazi shit and exposing them. So like she literally got this account that posted the clip of Justpearlythings. No, this isn't Justpearlythings tweet. This is a person covering Justpearlythings tweet who got banned for posting this. And the tweet is now deleted. Maybe there's a mirror in the comments? Fuck. Hold on. Oh, cool. I found a YouTube copy. Let's go. All right, here we go. Cherry, you can clean up this video in post, I'm sure. This is what editing is for.
Why can't we talk about them without getting kicked off of YouTube? Now, I'm not saying Hitler was a good guy.
How do you not rhyme dude with YouTube there? How did you go with guy instead of dude?
But I kinda wanna know why. Now there's all these conspiracy theories, and the more they talk, I think maybe they're right. But I can't even listen to the convo. I can't even have the conversation without getting canceled by the left and the right. Why can't we talk about them without getting kicked off of?
You know what this reminds me of? I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown, like a fast forward or a rewind back in time to the era of the the skeptic community. Because if there was a current era equivalent to like the anti-SJW skeptic community on YouTube in 2014 to 2016, it would be the red pill like podcast brosphere of today. That would be what we're dealing with now. And it kind of reminds me of when the anti-SJW community put all of their stock behind claiming that Rage After Storm, I think her name was, wasn't a Nazi after she made her videos in The Great Replacement and Race Realism. But then she just kept on going mask off, and it caused more and more schisms and infighting because the Nazis that were smarter didn't want her to be part of their, circle because it made them look bad, and it kind of gave away the game. The people who weren't Nazis and were just anti-SJWs, your Chris Ray Gun type anti-SJWs, didn't want to be associated with actual Nazis. And it just all kind of fell apart. I feel like now that we've gotten to the point where you've got Just Pearly Things doing guitar songs about the Jewish question, that might be this era's Rage After Storm JQing and just schisming the anti-SJW community back in the day.
YouTube. Now really, I'm not trying to be rude, but why can't we talk about the I didn't say
Wow,
it.
so subtle. So subtle, dude. Oh my god, so fucking subtle. Wow. Okay. Let's check her channel. Let's see how Just Pearly Things YouTube channel's doing. Is she still up on YouTube? I'm gonna guess yes. Ah. Yes.
Guys, welcome to the...
Of course. She is still up on YouTube. Listen, okay? If you guys want to know how much of a genuine connoisseur I am, okay? I know who this is, and I follow her on Instagram, and I've seen this post on Instagram when it came out. So it's funny that 45 minutes or 54 minutes ago, Just Pearly Things made a video about how it's like a sign of like issues with society. Jesus. She's more than 10 times your size and pulls less views than you? Well, yeah, because you have to understand that her audience are like women despising men. Like here, let me, here, let's look at telling men and women we are equal is evil.
Okay, so I've been thinking a lot lately about
Sophia
the natural hierarchy of the world. And how you can like see if something is evil. And what I realized is The natural hierarchy is supposed to go God, man, women, children.
Holy shit, she laid out exactly how I explained these people's mindsets. Children are property, women are also property, but slightly less property than children, and then men own them, but God owns men, but also God's not really real, so men actually are just the ones that own everybody. That, like, literally, unironically, just, she's too stupid to keep the mask on. It's fantastic.
This is the hierarchy. Now, what I realized is feminism basically is anything that disrupts this hierarchy, or like this is what they're trying to do, because they're trying to say women and men are equal. And when you say women and men are equal, that naturally goes against God, because it's disrupting the natural, like,
How does she look higher than me right now?
Hierarchy of the world. And I was thinking about, like, women and men's, like, true natures, right? Like, men are just more logical, to the point problem solvers. Or women, it's like we're so emotional.
I can think of a trillion cases where that has not been true. I can think of a million trillion cases where that has not been true, okay? This is basically the type of content online that's very popular with low IQ young men. I'm mostly memeing about the low IQ thing. I'm just... My point is, I don't think these young men are stupid. I genuinely don't. I think most of the young men that are falling into this stuff have this inherent belief that they are logical, reasonable people who reason out good opinions from the data that they interpret around them. When in reality, this is actually just cognitive dissonance they've built up, reassuring them of their, like reassuring and backing up their ignorance, right? I think a lot of these young men have not had a lot of worldly experience, and thus most of their understanding of the world is filtered through stereotypes they've learned over the internet. Does that make sense? Have you seen people like this? A lot of young guys who clearly most of their understanding of people that and things they've never interacted with before are all stereotypes. I think that Just Pearly Things and content creators like this very effectively prey on those young people whose only real understanding of women. Like, if you're a 15-year-old guy, you don't understand women. You've probably never befriended a woman before onto such a level where you can, like, understand them psychologically enough to, like, recognize that, like, you are still very much, like, motivated by hormones and lack of experience and knowledge. And I feel like for a lot of young men, it takes a little bit of life experience to even make mutual, like, completely platonic friends with women. Like, how many guys do you know who had to reach, like, 19, 20, 21, or much older years old before they could, like, actually have a platonic friendship with a woman? That they, like, a friendship with a woman they didn't intend on having sex with. Tons of guys I know still haven't gotten to that point. It's very common with young men. I think Just Pearly Things takes heavy advantage of that, tells them, yes, your worldview backed up by these stereotypes is totally true. Trust me, I'm a woman who's betraying the other women by telling you this. I'm leaking secret, top secret redacted info. It's like, it's a very predatory and fucked up method, but it's very effective too, although her channel's kind of dying lately, so maybe it's not that effective.
And I think what feminism has done is convinced men that they're good people for letting women be equal. And
I can't argue with that logic. It does make you a better person as a man to see women as equal to you. That does make you a better person. I think that's pretty indisputable, and I would not argue with that. That is not a straw man. That is actually not a straw man.
And what I realized is
I like how you can hear a dog panting in the background. Probably because she just finished fucking it. And I'm not joking. I'm sorry, but the holy scriptures have spoken. The Holy Scriptures have spoken. We all know
You're
the
a white
truth.
girl, and I know it's hard, but you really gotta stop banging dogs. You can lie and start complaining, but we all know it's a dog you're banging. You're a white girl, and I know it's hard, but you really gotta stop banging dogs. You can lie and start complaining, stop complaining. Don't you know that it's wrong for you to fuck dogs, so fuck off.
This meme is gross. I'm dipping out. I'm banning you from my community. I'm sorry. You're not a fit. I've enjoyed our season of friendship, but you're not going to be a fit here. I've set you to ignore, not ban. There you go. You are functionally banned, as far as I won't see you, but you can still chat. I don't think, if you don't find this meme funny, this is like a great litmus test as to whether or not you belong in this community. If this meme doesn't make you at least chuckle a little, then you just this isn't for you. It just isn't for you. Yeah, this is also Lav's theme song. The like psycho turf that like was obsessed with Destiny or whatever. What if I only blew some air out of my nose? Get out of here. I'm just kidding. Now listen, we got to do occasional litmus tests to find out who here can handle the epicness of my channel, okay? We're just too goated here. We are simply too epic and based here. We don't cut any corners. We are just all around fucking based. And we make no compromises. And if you can't handle that, then this stream just isn't for you. We go balls to the wall in this stream, and some people just can't handle it, you know? I get it, but, you know, we're real here, okay? We get real.
What that takes away from women is it takes away the one thing we need. And the one thing that we really crave, which is guidance.
No. You're not speaking for all women by any means. I know many women who get extremely annoyed and upset and avoid any guy who tries to mansplain things to them or tries to, like, get them into things they're not into doing. Like, in regards to, like, oh, we should go bungee jumping. No, I'm not doing that. Like, stop. Like, stuff like that. Like, she's basically just relying on nothing but, like, the laziest stereotypes imaginable and the gullibility and believability of those stereotypes by teenage boys.
And I realized if we don't get guidance from our fathers, the men, the husbands, and we're here, like we go from here to here, and we do this stupid feminism Christian thing where, like, oh, submit to your husband when he follows God. Or submit to your husband basically when you feel like it. Like, because then you're like, well, what determines who's following God? Okay, so we bring...
Wait, so she's saying even if your husband isn't following God, you should follow him because he is your husband and above you, and he knows what God wants better than you do, you silly femoid. Bro, this content is like the most, like, sad shit to watch of all time. It is difficult to, like, stomach.
The women here. Now that's evil because it disrupts, like, the natural order of things. Okay? And then the women have no guidance. And I realize that's, like, the most evil thing you can do to women. Because when we have no guidance, we go towards self-destruction. And the problem is we have this society where there are very few, like, masculine leaders. Even if they stay married.
That is hilarious. All right, like... So we've literally gotten to the point where it's just, like, relying on the idea that a lot of teenage boys online have that all the CEOs are female now because all the corporations have gone woke. You have to understand that, like, the demographics she's aiming for with this content are the most... We're literally talking about 14, 15, 13, maybe even 12-year-olds, okay? Like, literally just got into puberty and are mad they haven't lost their virginity yet.
They've told men for 100 years that men and women are equal. And you are supposed to be equal. So go work like a man.
She's got a high sub count because she got astroturfed to shit. She even even cons don't watch her shit. She's too dull for even them. She's massively botted her channel. Apparently there's like a massive botting problem as of late with channels like just inflating their sub counts well beyond what is reasonable for their view counts. And it's pretty fucking crazy. It's I mean, it hurts them in the long run, so I can't really be too upset about it because it's like, I mean, if you want to get like an extra few million subs now, go ahead, but it's not going to help you in the long run because those aren't going to translate to viewers, right? And I'd rather take my slow and steady growth that actually translates to proportional viewership over botting my channel to get the perception of success and maybe gain virality via that rather than, I don't want to fake my way to the top. Like what most conservative figures do, yeah. Abby Shapiro was also heavily astroturfed. Daily Wire paid a shit ton of money to run ads for her videos on YouTube. You just couldn't escape them. You will just be like right-wing benefactors with shit tons of money will just pay to make you an online media career as a conservative. Like it's just that easy. Like you can just do that.
Go talk like a man. Go get involved in men's things. And they basically just put this programming in churches, schools, the media.
She's JQing again.
And I don't really know what their agenda is. And I don't, I make jokes, but I don't really know who they are. But
that's what Nick Fuentes does. That's like exactly like a Nick Fuentes quote. Oh, we just make jokes here, by the way, guys. Like, I don't really know who they are, we're just... He's a little more mask off. He's a lot more mask off now, but Nick Fuentes would do, like, weird dog whistles. Like, who remembers the cookie analogy? This is a good one. For those that don't know, Justpearlythings and Nick Fuentes are good friends, so, this is, fairly relevant to the discussion, because Nick Fuentes has managed to maintain a surprising amount of relevance and persistence online, despite his open Nazism for a long time. A lot of the drama community, like the Bo Blacks, Augie, Turkey Tom, like that sphere, I wouldn't say necessarily embraces Nick Fuentes, but they don't exactly reject him. They definitely hate someone like Keffels a lot more than Nick Fuentes. That's pretty obvious. But yeah, let me see if I can find the video of Nick Fuentes doing the Holocaust denial. All right, YouTube's taking this. Funny how every time I look for dirt on a conservative YouTuber that was uploaded by a channel exposing them, it's always gone and taken down off YouTube, and I have to find it on like Reddit or something. Interesting how that happens. Twitter link, can't open that. Fuck. Does anybody want to gain a contributor badge by sending me a link that's not the Twitter that works for this clip? Honestly, I don't think we're going to find it. Scratch that. We're not going to find it. I'll basically reiterate what he says. Essentially, he basically claims that it was impossible for 6 million Jewish people to have been murdered and their bodies dealt with and the evidence dealt with in the way that history says it was. But instead of saying Jews, instead of saying like gas chambers or anything like that, he says cookies. He uses Cookie Monster instead of Hitler. And he calls them cookie baking ovens instead of gas chambers, etc., etc. He talks about how, oh yeah, well you would think that there would be, with so many cookies baking, you would see the smokestacks. You would see a lot more smoke, right? Like he does the whole thing, right? I just sent one. Oh, you got the link. You got the link. You got the link. No, not fresh and fit. I'm asking for the Nick Fuentes clip. Don't try to pass off a not what I'm asking for link is what I'm asking for, my friend. Anyway, we're probably not going to find that video because, unfortunately, this kind of stuff has been buried quite deeply. Oh, has someone found it? Oh, here's a clip from BitChute. Yeah, here we go.
Matt says, if I take 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies and Cookie Monster has 15 ovens, working 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years, how long does it take Cookie Monster to make 6 million batches of cookies? I don't know. That's a good question. Certainly, oh, no. It doesn't really...
So this was back when Nick Fuentes was, like, a lot more mask on, and so he had to sort of do this, like, DreamWorks face smile while JQing and pretending like he's totally not a Nazi. But everybody there's in the chat is spamming the N-word and the K-slur and other Nazi shit, and, like, you're just not allowed to say that he's a Nazi. It's basically like a more extreme version of the situation with people like Critical Drinker and the... like your general like chud YouTubers who are very clearly far right, but if you call them that, then their fans will like jump down your throat.
Sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens.
Now he's
probably
way more
in
open.
4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there.
By the way, there is extensive, like, the Holocaust is the most documented event in all of human history. The Nazis tried desperately to destroy the evidence of what they had done. And then they disposed of bodies, and they also tried to dispose of, so for example, the Nazi apologists try to claim that the chambers in which there would have been mass killings of Jewish people and other, like, there were other demographics that were also being killed, that the doors to lock them in were wooden and thus too light to possibly keep people in there against their will. Like, people could break it down. And the reason for that, which is something obviously the Nazis won't tell you, neo-Nazis won't tell you, but if you research it, you'll find out, is there were pits dug within and around the concentration camps, the internment camps, where they had giant melted steel bulk doors that they burned and melted down and buried. They tried to destroy the evidence of the doors and remounted wooden doors onto them to make them look like habitation huts rather than like airtight sealed chambers for gassing people. So there was that. There was also the fact that the Nazis did not like keep accurate records of the people that they were keeping and killing. They were trying to hide a lot of the atrocities they were committing. They also destroyed a lot of evidence as the Allies were rolling into Eastern Germany and into Southern Germany as well, I believe. I forget exactly like how the pincer worked, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, just like the amount of evidence that suggests that there were actually many, many more deaths than 6 million Jewish people alone is extremely strong. Do not let neo-Nazis even crack your confidence in this fact, okay? The Holocaust is the most documented event of all human history, okay? It is... There's just World War II and the Holocaust, there's just no debate about it. Like, it happened. There are survivors who witnessed it. It's just... yeah.
The math doesn't quite seem to add up there. I don't think...
Yeah, only 6 million Jews, by the way, and that's the lowball estimate of how many Jews alone were killed. They killed tons of other like European minority groups. Obviously, black people were a target. They targeted Romani people. They targeted gay people. They targeted Jehovah's Witnesses. I know they targeted. I think they targeted Mormons too. Like they targeted who else? They targeted a lot of different groups. Communists, Poles. Trans folk, of course, anyone LGBT, yeah. Yeah, there were disabled people. Yeah, like a lot of people were seen as degenerate and exterminated, but Jewish people were this, like, the core of the Nazi ideology was anti-Semitism. The idea was that all of these things were being enabled and pushed and allowed to destroy their civilization by the Jewish people that were like the great mastermind of everything. So that's why Jewish people were the main focus of like historical discussion of this.
I think you'd result in 6 million, maybe 200 to 300,000 cookies. And I think the Red Cookie Association said something like that, probably 200 to 300,000 cookies baked, probably. And in addition, you know, in this hypothetical, I imagine that if you took aerial photographs over the kitchens, you would need to see certain smokestacks to release the smoke from baking the cookies.
By the way that they actually dealt with the bodies was not via, like, one body at a time in incinerators, because that is literally mathematically impossible. The actual way that they did it was by digging ginormous ditches and burning the bodies in mass pits. These pits were known to burn so hot they could melt steel. There are literal steel train tracks that were nearby these pits because they dug them along the side of the train tracks, and just being adjacent to those extremely hot, like burning hot fires melted and warped the train track. And they burned bodies in mass that way. They did not do it via like incinerators, like what Nazis try to tell you, because they want you to believe that, oh yeah, I guess it would be infeasible to, you know, one by one incinerate 6 million plus people in incinerators like that. They want to obfuscate what actually happened like that, and sort of lull you into this false reality of what happened, when in reality there were no, like, I'm sure there were some like things like that, but in reality the vast majority of bodies would have been dealt with like that. Mass graves.
And the smokestacks would project certain shadows, but I guess they're not visible in the aerial photographs taken over the kitchens. Moreover, if you look at the soil texture, it's really not deep enough for mass cookie storage underground.
This is another conspiracy theory they try to claim, that the soil could not have been dug deep enough to dig trenches to burn the bodies. They just make shit up. They're Nazis. What do you expect?
And so there's a lot of things, you know, in the cookie kitchen, they say that the ovens are wooden and they have windows on them and they're not totally secure.
Yep, there it is. The claim that they replaced that the doors were made of wood. It's because the here, I can actually bring up research on this if you guys actually want to like see a unironic like takedown of this. Of these conspiracies. I know we've gone from like looking over JQ shit to Nazi conspiracy doors. All right. Denier claim. Gas chamber door, quote-unquote, versus Auschwitz cloth disinfection machines doors. Who is more stupid, Nazis or Goyim buying this bullshit? Hashtag holohoax. That is the tweet. And then it's like the image of like the like of like a giant German gun, and then this supposed, what they say is a supposed gas chamber door, and they say German ingenuity. Are you still buying it? Like, oh, yes, the Germans are just so amazing that if they made gas chambers, they wouldn't be made. Like, it's such a bizarre defense, but whatever. Short debunking is, it was not a gas chamber door, so all the arguments comparing it to the real gas chamber doors are irrelevant. Some quick historical context. This small gas chamber was adapted from a morgue in the crematorium, the crematory first floor of the main camp in late 1941. The gassings were rare and occasional. It's unlikely that more than 10,000 people were gassed in this chamber in total. The main killings took place in Birkenau since early 1942. As already explained above, crematorium Crematorium 1, I think is what it's called, was converted into an air raid shelter by the Nazis in late 1944. To repeat, the killings at that time took place in Birkerow in late 1944 were coming to an end anyway. The main modifications were documented by the Nazis themselves, so we know that the morgue/gas chambers were divided into 4 smaller rooms. So it was once a gas chamber converted into a bomb shelter room that they put wooden doors on because they broke it up into 4 rooms and put doors between those rooms. And the Nazis take that photo and try to claim that is the gas chamber door. So yeah, there's also another story of where there were larger buildings that were buildings out in an open area that were bulkhead doors initially, but then the Nazis replaced them with wooden doors to make them look like they were just sort of habitation when the camps were occupied and liberated. So yeah, just you really gotta know. You really gotta know. These Nazis will lie about fucking everything. You don't have to be a historical expert on the Holocaust to know that Nazis are liars and evil, and they will try their best to confuse you about this shit to make you amenable to Holocaust denial and anti-Semitism. That's their end goal at the end of the day, is to enforce death, misery, and suffering. That's all they care for. They are the epitome of evil. There's a reason why Nazis are the most classic villain in all of media. What's a better villain than Nazi zombies? Honestly, I think we should up it, though. We should do Nazi zombie pedophiles now. That should be the go-to super evil villain, you know? Nazi zombie pedophiles. That's basically taking your average Twitter lolicon and then just turning them into a zombie, and you just done it. Yeah, just make Nick Fuentes a zombie and you're there. Fuck. Yeah, we in Wolfenstein now. Alright. What do you guys think of that segment? I feel like that one came out pretty good, overall. I feel like that was unironically really good. I feel like I got a lot of funnies in that segment, and I feel like we learned a lot, and I did some good debunks of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. I'm glad you guys liked it. Hot damn, 542 people just vibing in chat. Consider dropping a like on the stream. It really helps the channel a lot. It actually pushes my videos and my channel and the algorithm to new people who may potentially subscribe and help grow the channel. And it's totally free. It takes half a second. You can also support me financially through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, or my website, or through Patreon. But no matter what, just being here is very helpful in and of itself. But a like is appreciated as always. Chainsaw Chimera, thank you for the $5 donation. I really appreciate that. Very based and kind of you. Said, remember that the reason Range After Storm hasn't been heard from is thanks to Kraut exposing the Nazi queen to her employer in the expose he made. Yeah, Kraut was based in calling out the far right. That's why I put him in the IDK section in that, not tier list, but that category list I made, despite him, really schizophrenically shit-talking me in the past, because the reason he was shit-talking me was my defense of Shu, and he was right in the end on that. So, if he's down to, make up over that, I'm down to give him, I'm down to say, let bygones be bygones, because, I can't be mad at him about that when he was correct to be shit-talking me there. He was going a little harder than I think warranted, but he was correct in the main premise of why he was arguing that he doesn't like me. So yeah, maybe now that I have seen the light that he was trying so hard to expose me to, he'll be amenable to friendship. Anyway, thank you for the $5. I appreciate it, Chainsaw Chimera. I was the same way with Dusty Smith, by the way. I don't hold grudges against people who, called me out for something that I later... if someone calls me out, even if it's, really rudely, but in the end, I come to realize that they were right in the end, I'll usually, come to... I did this with, Dusty Smith. I did this with, Dark Viper AU. There have been people who've called me out very meanly in the past, but I realized they were correct. And I'm, completely chill with them. I don't hold a grudge against people who called me out rightfully, because I've improved because of their calling me out. I can't get better as a content creator if I don't have some level of pushback forcing me to get better in every category. from like my performance as a content creator, like my ability to be an entertaining speaker, to like the knowledge that I express, the way that I put my thoughts into words, the way that I debate or argue for my opinions, just all of these things, you have to receive pushback to some extent in order to get better, so, you know. I sent you a screenshot of dumb fuck tweet from Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh claims that feminism has killed far more people than the atomic bomb. So true. Nord, thank you for the $5 donation. I really appreciate that. That really means a lot to me and goes a long way. Says, hey Zan, I did the math on the cookie analogy. It actually does add up. Check out what I sent in chat just now. That's funny, actually. I can't look at that because I need to go to the bathroom and finish up stream because I've been live for a while. But that is really funny that you did the math and it lines up. Thank you for the $5, though. Nero Dia, thank you for the $5 donation. I really appreciate it. That means a lot and goes a long way. Says the dog pill continues. What is this?
It's the world's most unbreakable taboo, bestiality. Even the word makes us sick. If a person were to be intimate with a dog, for instance, that person should be locked in a cell and never seen again.
True.
It's disgusting, perverse, filthy. But if that same person was to have sex with a robot dog, that'd be totally cool because it's not a real dog. I think it's an exciting future. Think about it. What would be wrong with having sex with a robot dog? Nothing, because again, it's not a real dog. Though, let me be clear, the robot dog would be—
This is such a great, like, meme for how, like, the lolicons talk. This is unironically how lolicons talk about, like, how they're totally not pedos for jacking off to lolly.
Be extremely realistic. Warm fur, wet nose, cute little waggling tail. No matter how deep you go, this thing looks and feels so much like a dog that the person inside it is totally convinced that it is a real dog.
Oh my God.
Maybe it even looks like my dog, Tipsy. But you could have sex with—
This is horrific.
that nobody would think it was weird. I certainly wouldn't. Let's say you overheard a man having sex with a robot dog. You can hear the dog screaming and yelping in pain, and even though the sounds are all pre-recorded robot noises, it really—
Pre-recorded?
So you call the cops, naturally, because having sex with a real dog should obviously be a crime. So the cops show up and the guy fucking the dog says, wait a minute, it's a robot. So they call a veterinarian. And even he thinks it's a real dog because he investigates and the dog's synthetic hair and skin is just that realistic. It's a metal robot underneath, but it's all dog on top. So the guy who had sex with the dog that looks like Tipsy didn't do anything wrong at all, did he? Because it's not a real dog.
It was him. It was him.
And in fact, maybe the guy who wants to fuck the robot dog is into robots, not dogs. He's not. It's definitely a dog thing, but you don't know that for sure. Why would it be okay to have sex with a robot dog? One, it's not hurting the dog, is it? Yes, the dog is programmed not to like it, but it's just a program. Two, dogs are beautiful. Three, it's not a real dog. It would get you off like a real dog, but it's just a robot. In another scenario, let's say you didn't see the man having sex with a robot dog, but you did walk in on him watching a video of himself having sex with a robot dog. You'd still be this person's friend, right? You wouldn't fire him, would you? You wouldn't alert his neighbors or tell his wife because he didn't do anything wrong. Why? Say it with me. It's not a real dog. If you wanted, you could fuck a robot dog right in the face of the President of the United States and there would be nothing he could do about it. Why? I think you know.
That might be one of my new favorite, like, cognito hazard videos on the internet, dude. That reminds me of the like, Mike Ehrmantraut's down bad video, dude. Where it was just the longest 3 minutes of my life. You know, I have a feeling that guy should be kept away from dogs, just maybe. Yeah, maybe. Just maybe. God, the Onion goes so hard. They can be hit or miss, but sometimes when they hit, they hit. Freya, thank you for the $10 donation. I really appreciate it. Very kind of you. Very based. Very pog. Very, very omegalol. I don't know. Other positive adjectives to describe things. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to update the dono goal really fast. Thank you all so much for your support so far. It really does go a long way and means a lot to me. Seriously. It really, really does. Let's see. Time to get that next segment ready. The last segment of the day, actually. Wait, hold on. I can just do it that way? Okay, hold on. Sorry, it's going to take a second to open all of these. All right, 1 second. God, moving these tabs around to find, like, the right order is a big pain in the ass. Alright, nope, fuck this. I'm gonna do it the easy way. This is too difficult. I can't handle all these tabs not being in order. Fuck it. Let's do it one thing at a time, alright? Here we go. Alright. You all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1, action. Well, everybody, this is an interesting one. So, I have a tendency to sort of browse YouTube and watch a lot of different types of YouTubers outside of the sphere of politics that I engage in. And one type of content I really enjoy is learning about the history of medieval arms and life in medieval times across the world. Unfortunately, this area of YouTube is dominated by chuds. One of the most popular YouTubers who does this type of content, in fact, Shadiversity, is a massive chud who regularly does anti-woke content. He does streams with like ER and Mahler and Rags and Critical Drinker and Geeks and Gamers and Nerdrotic, where they talk about the newest like woke thing that needs to be destroyed in the culture war. And he's just like... He basically does half his content as, like, normie bait, wide appealing, you know, medieval arms content, medieval life content. And then from there, he sort of, like, brings people into the more radical conservative side of things with the anti-woke stuff he does in his live streams and his, like, second channel and his every other upload or whatever. So... There's also another content creator in this sphere, though, in this line of content, you know, genre, who makes very similar videos and is considerably smaller, but makes, in my opinion, better videos, and I can tell is probably not a chud, or I've always been able to tell probably wasn't a chud, but this just downright confirms it. Skallagrim. I always had a good feeling about Skallagrim. I never felt like he was chuddy, and I always liked his content more. I always felt like his content was a little bit, I don't know. I thought it was more well thought out and a little less clickbaity and, bog standard YouTube normie bait, It felt like it was someone who actually was genuinely into this shit, wanting to teach other people, and not someone just trying to be a popularizer in the same tier as, like, Elon Musk does for, like, tech bro shit. Anyway, the other day, there was a bit of an interaction that happened on Twitter. Skallagrim ended up replying to a tweet. Is this the right order? I think it's the right order. Okay, yeah, I think the order is correct. I was scrolling through Twitter, or not Twitter, through Reddit when I saw this, so the Reddit order of the screenshots on Twitter might be out of whack. I'm banned from Twitter, so I cannot actually look at any tweets. Like, I'm rate limited permanently, so, like, I just can't even show you guys things that happen on Twitter for videos, because I'm permanently banned. Or, sorry, X is what it's called now. God, it's gonna be dead so soon. Anyway, this is the first interaction that starts off what happened. Because he's a responsible parent, concerned about the identity politics being pushed into harmless children's movies, quote-unquote, and wishes to point it out to equally responsible parents who might not wish for it either. I believe this was in response to somebody else asking why Shadiversity cares so much about the Barbie movie being woke. It's not all included here, but putting all the screenshots together, that's what I've been able to figure out. Skallagrim comes out of the woodwork and replies, "Wouldn't a responsible parent decide what movie to watch with children who are too young to decide for themselves? And if they're old enough to decide for themselves, where's the harm? Right-wing rhetoric isn't the only viable option in a marketplace of ideas." Very reasonable response, but doing this kind of kicked the hornet's nest, and this is when all hell broke loose for our boy Skallagrim. So, my point being, I can get the position of, it's a fucking Barbie movie, how could that inspire such a thumbnail/title from a sane person? I want to ask, have you seen the film yourself? If so, was your reaction to Shad's review based upon seeing the film yourself? I'd never had the slightest interest in Barbie, and I wouldn't have thought for a second that this movie is for me. I just can't stand this kind of clickbait. If you don't think it's feminist cancer, maybe you shouldn't put that in all caps in the thumbnail. Yeah, so basically Shadiversity's video on the Barbie movie is like him looking angry, and then like Barbie, and then it says feminist cancer in like big text in the thumbnail. We truly are back in 2016. It never ended. So, Shadiversity ends up replying to somebody who called out, Skallagrim replies to somebody calling out Shadiversity, saying, "Watch out, you're going to have some zealous Shad fans come after you for daring to question a grown man angrily ranting about a Barbie movie, because apparently that's serious business," smiley face. Shadiversity himself quote tweets this, saying, in other words, let's belittle people who criticize stuff I support instead of listening to what they're saying, and pretend it isn't serious when divisive propaganda is in children's media, and play the victim when I'm called out. Is this you avoiding drama? Skallagrim replies, "I freely admit I had a bad day yesterday, and I posted that original comment impulsively, in a moment of irritation. But responding with a childlike temper tantrum is not a good look either. Time to move on. I have neither the time nor the inclination to stir up Twitter drama." Very adult response, by the way. Here's the thing, though. Shadiversity doesn't let it go. "I'd be happy to collaborate with Skallagrim at any time, regardless of his offensive and outspoken far-left comments he's made on his channel and off. But I get the feeling he thinks outspoken right-wingers are too problematic to associate with. Of course, he could prove me wrong anytime. Doors open. Ah, yes, if you don't collaborate with me, you're an asshole. So much for the tolerant left. You don't tolerate my bigotry." If a movie reviewer, if a movie reviewer saw a movie and something about it bothered them immensely, are you not allowed to discuss what upset them in their review, especially if it contextualizes their overall view of the film? Yes, the same way as someone else is allowed to say how they feel it comes across. I love how their response to somebody making fun of people having a meltdown over wokeness in a child's movie. I guess it's not a child's movie. It seems like it has got appeal for adults too. But like, and their response is to say, they're allowed, they have the freedom of speech to have this opinion. It's like, am I not allowed to have the freedom of speech to, disagree with their opinion? It doesn't really apply if you think about it for too long. This is, of course, the tweet where, Ask Aubrey had tweeted, "Why are these guys so emotional? I thought they were too above the Barbie movie." And you've got Shadiversity's video title here. This is his alt channel called Night's Watch. Man-hating feminist propaganda. Barbie film review. So yeah, feminist cancer. Very good. Very good. Oh, here, so of course, Shadiversity still not having let it go. You're becoming an NPC with generic takes like this. My criticisms of this trash film are all completely valid, but instead of actually listening to them, you'll just throw stones and say stuff like, "Man, embarrassing. It's pathetic." Just like people who would say collecting swords and dressing medieval stuff is embarrassing, and I thought you were better than this. Also, are you trying to not understand the purpose of memeish hyperbolic thumbnails? It's hilarious how easy it is to trigger people with this, and you apparently. The thumbnails are purposefully over the top. Ah, yes, I was only pretending to be retarded. Why don't you watch the review, Skull? Why don't you watch the review, Skull, to see how much angry ranting there really is? I have watched Shadiversity go on screamy, angry rants about things being woke and how it's evil. He cannot pretend like he doesn't go full screechy mode when things are woke. You know, discuss things from an informed place, something you used to do. Right now, you're as bad as sports jocks who only ever seen swords through a window, but is criticizing people like us for saying the katana isn't perfect. But I suppose you would rather go on being triggered because you don't understand why a father would be interested in what movies are trying to teach his children. This dude is literally a man-child, by the way. He is actually, unironically, real-life comic book guy. I'm sorry, but YouTube has made the comic book guy stereotype capable of building a massive audience and empire online. It's actually insane. This man will die alone. We can only hope, but he has a wife and children, so God knows what that is, you know? Skallagrim replies, NPC? So you have main character syndrome now? Alright, before we derail into petty mudslinging, let me just say this. You can't have it both ways. If you want to play the culture war game for clicks, you can't go surprise Pikachu face when you alienate people with that. Not doing this for clicks. I'm doing it to stand up for my beliefs. What's really disappointing is that you've known I'm a devout Christian for years. Your problem is that now I'm outspoken about it. Basically, it's get back in the closet, you conservative, otherwise we can't be friends. It's fine that you're a Christian as long as you hide it, otherwise you'll alienate me. But I bet you're fine with people who are just as outspoken that are on the far left. That's the hypocrisy, especially when you're happy for right-leaning people to watch your content, but you'll alienate yourself from watching them. I made this video for people like you who think this way. Feminism is cancer! I like how he's pretending he doesn't actually believe it, and it's just like a hyperbolic belief, but he's outright said he believes feminism is cancer many times. Skallagrim replies, this is getting silly, so last reply. Nobody's forcing you into some kind of closet. Nobody's limiting your freedom of speech, but people are also free to watch who and what they want and voice their opinion. I keep politics out of my channel, so hypocritical, eh? You know I keep politics off Shadiversity, which is why your reply seems to purposefully dodge what I'm saying. That's on purpose, by the way, because he wants to make sure the normies fall into, like, the medieval arms content, and then get introduced to the right-wing propaganda. And no, he doesn't want to scare off the normies from the get-go. Let me make it even more clear. You have admitted to being alienated due to political comments I've made outside of my channel, when you could have just ignored them. Like I've ignored your uninformed and offensive political rant videos and comments you've made over the years, and we'd have moved forward in collaboration and friendship. You make political comments outside of your channel, essentially doing the same thing as me, but it's okay when you do it, equals hypocrisy. Ah yes, you think it's bad when I'm racist, but you think it's good when you're not racist? You hypocrite. Someone replies, this just in, clickbait reaction YouTuber who gets triggered at children's movies is outraged at the slightest criticism. If your skin's this thin, Shad, maybe move up to full plate armor. Your holier-than-thou persona is incredibly cringe and transparent. Holy fuck, that was a good joke. I generally try to be considerate and diplomatic, and my offhand remark wasn't necessary, sure, but he's really flying off the handle over something this trivial. Really sad to see Skallagrim not getting a lot of likes. It's so sad how little, like, general support there is for, like, lefty-leaning content creators, or even popular content creators when they dare to express progressive values. He offhandedly mentioned that he doesn't watch you anymore because, as I infer, you portray yourself as overreacting to everything. You are now proceeding to overreact. And Skallagrim just replies, yep. Because he just doesn't really care about arguing anymore. And that's where he stops replying to these people, because he is an adult and not a man-baby, an actual man-child like Shadiversity, and is unironically above this weird, petty Twitter argumentation. You really should go check out Skallagrim. I'll be linking his channel in the top comment and in the description down below. His content's really good, and if you're looking for content that's, like, about that, like, medieval weaponry, swords, axes, castles, shit like that, and isn't coming from a reactionary, he is your guy. But yeah, I hope you go send some support, because we now know that Skallagrim is fucking based. Alright, everybody. I gotta pee real fucking bad, because I haven't peed this entire stream, and it's starting to really hurt now. So I'm gonna look for someone to raid. I'm gonna wrap things up. You guys have been really great today. I really appreciate all the support, all of the love that you've shown in chat. You guys really have been fucking awesome, and I really do appreciate it. We're gonna raid into Shark. Alrighty then.
You can learn.
Go raid into Shark. Go say Zan raid. Go be nice. Go make me look real good. Go send some support. Listen, guys, I really appreciate all of your support today. You were all amazing. And as always, I will see you all next time. Tomorrow will be the start of my Zancation Tropicraft server, so get excited for that. And make sure to join my Discord server so you get announcements about it. With all that said, have a good one.